Chapter 806. Lu Chen briefly explained what had happened, and Secretary Lin immediately replied, "I'll be right there. Don't move around. Oh, can you pass the phone to the officer in charge?" "Secretary Lin, I'm on speaker." "Oh, okay, I'll talk to them. Who's the one handling the case?" "I'm Lin Zerui." Captain Lu froze when he heard that. Lin Zerui, wasn't he the leader of Rivertown? Secretary Lin, it's me. I'm Xiao Lu from the Western District Police Station. I'm on Captain Zhang's side. Captain Lu knew that the other party wouldn't recognize him if he introduced himself as Xiao Lu, so he brought up Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang. On the other end of the line, the other party couldn't remember which Captain Zhang was. Although Rivertown wasn't big, Secretary Lin couldn't remember the names of all the police officers. Captain Lu was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to introduce himself. "Oh, Xiao Lu, right? I know the Western District Police Station. Wait here for me. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You're really Secretary Lin?" Captain Lu couldn't help but ask. Although the voice was similar, he couldn't be Secretary Lin for a phone call in the middle of the night. "You'll know when you get there." "Oh right, arrest all the suspects with guns. Don't let anyone go." Captain Lu could only do as he was told. While waiting, Captain Lu kept looking at Lu Chen. This guy and his sister were wearing caps and didn't want to show their faces. Originally, the police would have to take off their caps for interrogation, but since Secretary Lin had spoken, he could only let them wear their caps and sit at the side. Who were these two siblings? Why were they so influential? In less than 20 minutes, a few official cars and more than 10 police cars sped toward them. Then, a large group of people got out of the cars. Seeing these people, the police officers at the scene were stunned. Secretary Lin wasn't the only one who came. Commissioner Chen from the City Police Station and Commissioner Fong from the Key Case Investigation Unit were all their superiors. Other than that, there were also people from the military. The military immediately surrounded the scene. Secretary Lin and the others arrived at the place where the spell was cast. They looked around but couldn't find Lu Chen and his sister. "Secretary Lin." Lu Chen greeted him. Secretary Lin, several bureau chiefs, and the head of the military rushed over. "Are you okay?" Secretary Lin asked anxiously. "It's nothing. It's just that they want us to go back to the station to investigate. It seems like it will take some time." "I don't have that much time right now," Lu Chen said. "It's good that the two of you are fine. How did you meet a gunman? Is the security of Jiangqing City so bad?" The faces of the two bureau chiefs turned ashen. Secretary Lin's words were obviously meant for them to hear. Bureau Chief Fong was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. "Well, I'm really sorry. We'll investigate this matter thoroughly. No matter what the other party's background is, we'll definitely give the party involved a satisfactory answer." "Who's in charge of this case?" Bureau Chief Fong turned around and asked. Lu Dui hurriedly ran over. "Chief Fong, I'm Xiao Lu from the Western District Police Station. We rushed to the scene as soon as we received the report." "Well, let's do it this way. These two don't need to assist in the investigation. Arrest all the troublemakers and bring them back for interrogation. And the surrounding witnesses, do your best to collect evidence." They don't need to be brought back to assist in the investigation? They're the party involved. "Chief Fong, isn't this a little against the rules? There are so many people watching, and some are even recording." Lu Dui reminded Bureau Chief Fong. "Also, the main suspect, he seems to have some background," Lu Dui said in a low voice. "Background? It doesn't matter what background he has. Bring everything back." "Oh right, you must find the gun that committed the crime. I'll personally write a report to the higher-ups about this matter. You just need to ask for my help. The gun has been found as well as the bullet." Bureau Chief Fong lowered his voice and said to Lu Dui, "Well, you must take good care of the evidence. There can't be any slip-ups in this case. Otherwise, it's not just you, Chief Zhang, Chief Chen, and even Secretary Lin won't be able to shoulder this responsibility. Forget it. I'll personally supervise this case." Lu Dui's eyes widened. Was it really that serious? Even Secretary Lin had to shoulder the responsibility. Bureau Chief Fong was the head of the Key Case Investigation Unit. He hadn't handled a case personally for a long time, but today he was going to supervise the case personally. This was going to blow up. A phone call had shaken the entire river town. Lu Dui suddenly thought of something and hurriedly grabbed Bureau Chief Fong. Bureau Chief Fong, can I ask something? What is it? That person. Lu Dui's gaze fell on the young man who was talking to Secretary Lin. He can't be not that person, right? Bureau Chief Fong rolled his eyes at Lu Dui. You're a criminal investigator. You only understand now? The military directly bought the entire Villa district and deployed troops to ensure the safety of him and his sister. Have you seen such a scene before? Let's put it this way. I don't even need to know what the red-haired kid's family does. I can already say that even God can't save him. Solipsistic is the hope of mankind. Wuxia is now only protecting his safety. He's not just a citizen of Rivertown, but also not just a citizen of Wuxia. The Earth Alliance has already made his safety the top priority. Lu Dui was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He had almost forcibly removed that person's hat just now. Thinking back, his back was now drenched in cold sweat. This. No wonder he said that he's not a level 4. Lu Dui suddenly recalled this matter. He's from level 5. The only level 5 player in the world. He paved the path for the first few levels of heaven for the players on Earth. Mad God. Oh my God, I actually met Mad God. Bureau Chief Fong, please wait for me. Lu Dui hurriedly ran to Luchin. Sir, can I ask for your autograph? I'm not doing this for sale. I'm really a fan of yours. I've seen all your battles. I admire you so much. Luchin looked at Lu Dui in surprise. He was so fierce just now, and now he was running over to ask for an autograph? Luchin didn't have the habit of signing autographs. However, seeing Lu Dui's excited and incoherent manner, Luchin made an exception and agreed. After signing the autograph, Luchin followed Secretary Lin and the military's car and left under the watchful eyes of the crowd. More police would arrive soon, and the case would be handed over to the Key Case Investigation Unit. 2 police cars were holding down the troublemakers. They were still swaggering in the back seat, but no one paid them any attention. In the other car, there were all police officers on duty. A few young police officers approached Lu Dui. Hey Lu Dui, what were you doing just now? You went to ask for an autograph? That's not your style. Who is he? A celebrity? You're already so old. Yet you're still chasing after celebrities. He doesn't look that old. Could he be some 18th tier male idol? Him. Lu Dui's eyes were full of pride. He's indeed a celebrity, but he's better than all of them. You'll know when you see the autograph, but don't make it public. Lu Dui held the notebook and carefully opened the last page. There were only 4 words on it, but it was enough to explain everything. Only I. The female police officer's face turned pale, and her eyes were full of horror before she could finish reading. Oh my God! It's him! She covered her mouth. Oh my God, I was standing next to him just now. Oh my God! I didn't take a selfie. Ah. Lu Dui closed the notebook proudly. This autograph is priceless. I won't exchange it for anything. Damn old fan, turn around. Quick, I want to catch up with Mad God. I want an autograph too. The police officer next to him almost went crazy. Chapter 807. Lu Chen's safety was the top priority of the Earth Alliance. Ensuring that he could come online on time was naturally more important than anything else. What process, what public opinion, there was no need to consider at all. Secretary Lin let him go immediately. However, Louis still blamed herself. Brother, it's all my fault for being careless. Returning home, Louis lowered her head and looked wronged. Lu Chen rubbed her head. Silly, which decent person has a gun? But this time I've learned my lesson. You still have to be careful in the future. When people can extract more attributes in the future, don't be so careless. Okay, I know. Louis pouted. Oh right, brother. You can actually catch a bullet with your bare hands. How many attributes do you have? A few tens of thousands. Lu Chen said casually. In the 5th heaven, as long as you have the extraction scroll, You can extract your attributes directly. There's no upper limit. A few tens of thousands. Brother, then aren't you a real Superman now? Lu Chen shook his head. There are too many fifth heaven powerhouses. My current ranking is below 2 million. It's still too bad. Below 2 million. The fifth heaven is so scary. It was rare for the two siblings to go out and encounter trouble, but this also reflected Lu Chen's current status on Earth. At the same time, it tested Lu Chen's physical strength. His current strength had far exceeded the limits of humans. Lu Yi was also very envious of this. She only wanted to work harder and enter the fifth heaven as soon as possible. On Red Hair's side, he definitely wouldn't have a good time. Lu Chen and Lu Yi should also come online again. After teleporting back, Lu Chen rested for a night. The next morning he continued to rush to Autumn Lake. The closer he was to King City, the more prosperous the surroundings became. Large and small cities appeared frequently. Even the official roads became wider and smoother. Those who flew in the sky on their mounts were probably high officials and nobles. They had flying privileges, and they also had powerful mounts and sufficient spiritual power. Autumn Lake was southwest of King City. Lu Chen went straight in the direction of Autumn Lake. Walking on the wide official road, Lu Chen found that there was a large number of soldiers in front of him. It seemed that the road had been sealed. This seemed to be the only main road to Autumn Water Lake. If they took a detour, they would have to walk a long way. Lu Chen stepped forward and was about to ask. Stop. You can't leave here. Lu Chen looked behind the barricade. There didn't seem to be anything special, so he asked, Big brother, what's going on in front? Why can't we leave? Why do you ask so many questions? If I tell you that you can't leave, you can't leave. Go away. Lu Chen took out a bag of spirit stones from his backpack. There were about 100 of them. Big brother, I've been walking for a few days. If I can't walk from here, I'll have to walk for a few more days. Big brother, you must be tired. Let's go to the side and rest. Seeing the spirit stones in Lu Chen's hand, the soldier's attitude immediately softened a lot. Now that you mention it, I am indeed a little tired. The two of them came behind a big tree. After some secret operations, Lu Chen asked, Big brother, why can't we go over there? Hey, I think you're a rogue cultivator. You must not be well informed. There was originally a spirit stone mine in front, but it was attacked later. You know about the previous heavenly demon and dwarf spirit stone mines, right? They were attacked by that thing. I'm telling you, you'd better not go. The scene was really disgusting. Everyone was only left with skin. There were no wounds on their bodies, but you could still see their horrified expressions before they died. I only took one look, and I had nightmares for several days. Lu Chen suddenly widened his eyes. The spirit stone mine here was also attacked? It was that guy. Big brother, do you know who did it? Hey, I don't know. Although I'm sure that the spirit stone mines were attacked by the same person, no one has seen what that guy looks like. Or rather, those who have seen him are all dead. Lu Chen had long wanted to check out the situation of the spirit stone mine. Now that he had encountered it, he must think of a way to take a look. Big brother, can you think of a way to let me in? And? Didn't I tell you that the scene hasn't been dealt with yet? You can't go. Besides, what do you want to do in there? The soldier looked at Lu Chen with a wary gaze. Lu Chen hurriedly explained with a smile. Hey, to be honest, I want to record a copy of the Shadow Stone's information. I want to make a small profit. This reason was reasonable, so the soldier let down his guard. That's true. It's said that these Shadow Stones are sold out every time. If you can get the initial Shadow Stone, you can make at least 4,000 to 5,000. How could Lu Chen not understand what he meant? He smiled and gave him another 1,000 spirit stones. Big brother, please help me think of a way. This money came for free, so the soldier was naturally happy to take it. How about this? I'll find you a set of soldier's clothing. You can wear it and no one will care about you. This person was also quite trustworthy. He returned to the small house next to the roadblock and stayed for a while before running back to give Lu Chen a set of brand new Dongyu soldier's clothing. I've placed a talisman on the clothing. It will automatically destroy itself after one day. Lu Chen nodded. Okay, thank you, big brother. By the way, Won't the others report you? It's fine. Even if we don't do it, there will be people inside recording their own shadow stones. Those outside won't even get to drink the soup. Don't worry, they are all my brothers. I've already talked to them. Who doesn't want to make money in the army? Since the other party said so, Luchan openly entered the sealed area. The mine wasn't hard to find. There were always people dressed up as soldiers walking in that direction. Luchan didn't say anything and followed them. Soon they arrived at the mine. As soon as they arrived, Luchan saw the scene and almost vomited. A thick stack of human skins was piled up at the entrance of the mine. The texture of these human skins was similar to leather clothing. This was the most terrifying part. Moreover, the expressions on their faces were vivid, and almost all of them were in a state of panic. There were people continuously transporting new human skins out of the mine. From time to time, some of the soldiers in charge of transporting the human skins would suddenly run to the side and vomit. At the entrance of the mine, there were a few high-ranking Earth elementalists inspecting the human skins and discussing something. Damn, what kind of method is this? It's too disgusting. There's not even a wound on their bodies. They're all intact human skins. I can't take it anymore. This is already the third case. Thousands of people in this mine, including 8- and 7-star Earth elementalists, died just like that. What kind of thing did this? Luchan took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention, and followed a swearing soldier into the mine. The mine was slanted downwards and extended all the way. There were still lights at the front, but there were serious cave-ins at the back, making it very difficult to search. The dead at the front should have been cleared out. Luchan went deeper into the mine with the soldiers. The further they went, the fewer soldiers there were searching. Not long after, that person saw a human skin, and hurriedly ran over to pick it up and walked out of the mine. Damn, I can't take it anymore. Hurry up and get out. It was obvious that he was very reluctant to come here. After he ran away, Luchan was left with gravel from a serious cave-in in front of him, blocking the way forward. Heaven's Eye. Luchan secretly activated his Heaven's Eye and found a weak area at the edge of the cave-in. He pushed hard and actually opened up a hole. Sovereign magical beast, let me see what kind of method you're using. Luchan took a deep breath and went through the hole alone. Chapter 808. There were torches by the wall. Luchan lit a torch to illuminate the surroundings. It seemed like no one had searched this place before. There were many human skins of ordinary people around. Usually they were the only ones doing the most difficult and tiring work. It was quite scary to be alone here. Luchan called out Little Green and Furball to accompany him. Luchan squatted beside a human skin. Little Green, can you see how he was sucked dry? Little Green was not very afraid of these human skins. After all, she had refined her own kind before. She patiently flipped through the human skins and compared them with a few others. She said, "Boss, there are no wounds on their bodies, but look at their expressions. All of them have their mouths open." You're saying that all the flesh and bones were sucked out from their mouths? Louis nodded. It's very possible. After all, there are no bigger wounds on their bodies. Look inside their mouths. There are bloodstains and sticky substances. Almost everyone has them. I'm guessing that the internal organs and bones were shattered first, then some kind of strong suction force was used to suck the internal organs and bones away. Luchan frowned. Directly shattering the internal organs of an 8-star Earth elementalist. This kind of attack was unheard of. Even if it were him, he would not be able to withstand it. Boss, come over here and take a look. Look, these seem to be spirit stone powder formed after being mixed with water. Louis called out to Luchan from beside the rock wall. Luchan hurried over. There were some solidified mud blocks on the ground. The material was similar to spirit stones, but spirit stones were extremely hard. However, these things would be dented if squeezed hard. Louis's deduction was that these things were spirit stones that had been crushed into powder and glued together with water. After a long time, they formed the solid mud blocks now. It's understandable that the internal organs and bones were crushed when killing people. After all, this was the only way to suck them out. However, spirit stones were also crushed and eaten? Why? Luchin was puzzled. Little furball, if it were you, you would eat it directly, right? No matter how hard the spirit stone was, little furball would still eat it without hesitation. The little furball nodded and told Luchin that it only liked to eat living things, but if it really wanted to eat them, it wouldn't be so complicated. It would definitely eat them directly. Boss, I thought of a possibility, Lu Yi suddenly said. What is it? That guy should still be in its infancy, so it can only eat liquid food. Infant stage. Lu Chen's mind buzzed. If Lu Yi's deduction was correct, then this was definitely not good news. He could easily kill an 8-star Earth cultivator when he was still a child. How terrifyingly powerful is an adult sovereign magical beast? Luchin couldn't help but doubt. Can a loose immortal really kill an adult sovereign magical beast? Or could it be that the resurrected sovereign magical beast this time was even stronger than the one that died? As they walked forward, they reached the end of the mine. In front of them was an area that hadn't been mined yet. They could see some crystals inlaid on the walls. Luchin didn't have the refining skills, so he couldn't refine the spirit stones into spirit stones even if he obtained them. In addition, this place had already been damaged and was extremely unstable. It was better not to touch it. That guy is really a troublemaker. It only eats the spirit stone veins that have been mined. It looks like it will continue to attack the spirit stone veins everywhere. We've already been here for a long time. Let's go. Luchin collected the dozens of human skins scattered on the ground and brought them out of the mine. It didn't feel good to carry these human skins, but it wasn't suitable to leave them in the dark mine. Luchin endured the discomfort and brought them out. After checking the spirit stone mine, Luchin obtained a few important pieces of information. Among the sovereign magical beast skills, there was a skill that could directly shatter the opponent's internal organs and bones. In terms of strength, it had reached the level of shattering spirit stones. It looks like I have to increase my cultivation level and continue to strengthen my body and bones. Otherwise, I won't be able to fight it at all, Luchin said. Another point was that the guy might still be a child. Of course, he couldn't be sure about this. It's a little difficult to deal with. Luchin shook his head with a serious expression. After coming out of the mine, Luchin didn't turn back. Instead, he walked in another direction. After successfully passing through another roadblock, Luchin went straight to Autumn Water Lake. That night, Luchin arrived at Autumn Water Lake. In the past, there were usually people who came here to admire the beautiful scenery, fish, or collect. However, due to the roadblock, no one came to Autumn Water Lake recently. Luchin came to the lakeside and called softly, "Little golden carp? Are you there?" In the distance, there was a flash of water on the surface of the lake. Something under the water was approaching Luchin's direction. When it arrived in front of Luchin, a big golden head appeared on the surface of the water. "Benefactor, you actually survived." Luchin smiled slightly. "Yes, why did you ask me to come here?" "Come down. I don't want to be seen by others. Use the clear water pearl. Oh, don't worry about the surrounding magical beasts. With me here, they won't attack you." Luchin nodded and jumped into the lake. Under the protection of the clear water pearl, Luchin didn't need to take a breath and could see the surrounding environment. Faintly, Luchin discovered that there seemed to be huge magical beasts surrounding him and little golden carp. Some of the magical beasts' huge bodies couldn't be seen completely. He could only feel that the surroundings were surrounded by all kinds of huge magical beasts. Little golden carp was beside Luchin. Although these magical beasts were restless, they didn't attack from beginning to end. Luchin was puzzled. What kind of creature was little golden carp? Why didn't those magical beasts attack them? Little golden carp kept swimming to the bottom of the lake. Luchin followed closely behind. Not long after, they came to a rock at the bottom of the lake. Little golden carp used its head to touch the rock. The rock actually opened a door. Looking in from the outside, there was a completely different world inside. Little golden carp signaled Luchin to go in. Luchin hesitated for a moment and finally swam in. As soon as he entered the cave, Luchin directly fell out of the water. This was an underwater cave. The surrounding water couldn't invade. Damn, what is this place? Luchin looked around in shock. Not long after, from the surrounding water, little golden carp's head popped out. Benefactor, there is another door in the inner room. I can feel that there is abundant spiritual energy inside. There seems to be something inside, but I can't go in. You go and see if there is anything good. As for whether you can get the treasure, it will depend on your luck. Ah, there is a treasure here? Luchan turned around and looked behind him. There seemed to be another stone door. He walked over. Just as his hands touched the stone door, a dignified voice suddenly sounded. Who is it? Luchan was startled. He looked around. He was the only one in the surroundings. There was also little golden carp who was nervously looking at him. The words just now clearly didn't come from little golden carp. It seemed to have come from this door. Solipsistic. Luchan tried to reply. What is your cultivation level? 7-star wild cultivator. 7-star wild cultivator? You don't have a sect? No. Then what is your main profession? Main profession? Luchan was a bit embarrassed. He didn't seem to have a main profession. He had the Holy Lotus sword heart for spiritual swords. The Grandmaster of Combat had too many skills. The monk had the Buddha's salvation for all. The beast tamer had a bunch of divine pets. The puppet had a suboriginator. The explosives expert had the spiritual energy space cannon. The talisman master had the heavenly might chess array. The pharmacist had the rejuvenation skill. Only the prophet wasn't good at it. This is a bit difficult to answer. I don't have a main profession. Except for the prophet, I know a little about the other 8 professions. Luchan said helplessly. Chapter 809. No main occupation? Everyone except the prophet? You liar. That dignified voice said. Luchan held his forehead. Sometimes he really couldn't tell the truth. After all, no one would believe him. Who are you? Where is this place? Why are you asking these questions? What was surprising was that the other party actually answered him directly. This is the treasury of the Heart Refinement Courtyard. However, things have changed with the passage of time. After thousands of years, the once famous Heart Refinement Courtyard can only sink to the bottom of a lake. No one cares about it. That person's voice was filled with vicissitudes and helplessness. This person seemed to have a deep relationship with the Heart Refinement Courtyard. Heart Refinement Courtyard? Luchan was a little surprised. He had joined the Heart Refinement Courtyard when he was in the second heaven. At that time, Principal Kinsheng told him that the Heart Refinement Courtyard also existed in the Advanced Heaven domain. He didn't expect the Heart Refinement Courtyard to exist in the 5th heaven. You know about the Heart Refinement Courtyard? That person asked in surprise. Yes, the Heart Refinement Courtyard was quite strong in the 2nd heaven. At that time, almost all the experts would enter the Heart Refinement Courtyard to cultivate. However, in the 3rd or 4th heaven, I don't know if I didn't meet them or if they weren't there. In short, their presence was very low. As for the 5th heaven, this heaven is too big. I didn't completely explore it, so I can't answer you. Impossible. The Heart Refinement Courtyard I mentioned was completely destroyed when the demonic beast army invaded thousands of years ago. That person said, the Heart Refinement Courtyard you mentioned might have been rebuilt by the surviving students of the Heart Refinement Courtyard. Luchan frowned. The Heart Refinement Courtyard before the War of Gods and Demons was the Heart Refinement Courtyard of ancient times. Then did this person know the location of the 5 great spiritual veins? However, before Luchan could ask, the other party said, I didn't expect that after the Heart Refinement Courtyard I personally founded fell, someone would rebuild it. Perhaps this is also a kind of inheritance. Kid, you said that the 2nd heaven experts would enter the Heart Refinement Courtyard. What about you? Me too. Luchan took out a badge from his bag. It was the badge of the Heart Refinement Courtyard. It's exactly the same as the badge I designed. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. The other party's tone was a little excited, and then he fell into deep thought for a long time. Even he himself thought that the Heart Refinement Academy that he'd established with his own 2 hands would cease to exist. However, a few thousand years later, a young man had actually produced a badge that was exactly the same as the one he'd established at that time. So, how could he not be excited? Lu Chen even felt that if the other party had a physical body, it would probably be in tears by now. After a long while, that person said, "Kid, do you know who founded the current heart refinement courtyard?" "I don't know." Lu Chen answered honestly. "I only cultivated in the heart-tempering courtyard for a period of time when I was in the second heaven. After that, I didn't go to the heart-tempering courtyard. Moreover, it said that the heart-tempering courtyard is very powerful. I didn't have the opportunity to come into contact with them." That's true." The man seemed a little disappointed, but he quickly said, "No matter what, since you're a disciple of the heart refinement courtyard, you're my disciple as well." Hey, stop. Apprenticeship is not popular in the heart refinement courtyard. You have to spend task points to buy lessons. "I'm not your disciple," Lu Chen said. "Why? Is it wrong for you to be my disciple? I don't even know who you are. Why would I want to be your disciple? Besides, I don't even plan to be your disciple." "You really live up to your name. You're very arrogant." "Then when you were in the heart refinement courtyard, what did you call the person who taught there?" "Teacher." "All right, then I'm your teacher too." This time Lu Chen didn't know how to refute. If he was really the founder of the heart refinement courtyard, then let alone calling him teacher, he could even call him principal. "You just said that among the 9 professions, you don't major in any of them. You're only not good at being a prophet, and you know a little about the others. Tell me honestly, is that true? If you continue to spout nonsense, then you're deceiving your teacher." Lu Chen blinked his eyes. The other party's accusation was a little too harsh. Fortunately, he didn't lie. "Yes. All right, since you said so, then I'll test your strength. If you can't meet my requirements, you won't be able to enter the treasury. If you can complete the test, you can go to the treasury and take a treasure." "I can only take 1 treasure?" "Teacher, you see, I'm also from the heart refinement courtyard. Usually no one comes here. If I leave it there, it'll just collect dust." Lu Chen immediately called out to his teacher diligently. He tried to persuade him with both emotion and reason. "Kid, don't be too greedy. The rules of the heart refinement courtyard have always been like this. Everyone can only take 1 treasure after completing the test. There are no exceptions." Lu Chen pondered for a moment. He'd better go in first. "What test is that?" "This door has the universe 9 extremes formation. The 9 extremes represent the 9 professions. You said that you cultivate all 8 professions at the same time. Then I'll open one of the array cores for you. You can break the other 8 array cores by yourself. If you can open this door, I'll let you in. You can choose any treasure inside." As soon as the voice finished speaking, a strong suction force came from the door. Lu Chen couldn't help but be sucked into the 9 extremes formation. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Chen found himself in an open area. The surroundings were filled with fog. There were complicated array glyphs on the ground. He stepped on a circular array glyphs. The circular array glyphs extended outwards in 9 directions. The path was filled with strange runes. Only the north didn't have any fog. Lu Chen walked in this direction. After walking for about 2,000 meters, Lu Chen saw a stone pillar at the end of the 9 extremes formation. The stone pillar was carved with all kinds of elemental patterns, such as fire, ice, lightning, wind, darkness, earth, stone, and so on. There were 2 sentences written on it. Palm origin spirit, predict heaven's will. This stone pillar seemed to represent the prophet profession. The prophet profession mainly developed in 2 directions: elemental sorcerer and oracle. The stone pillar glowed faintly. At the top of the stone pillar, there was a carving of a person. It wasn't a human. It looked like a fairy. The eyes of the stone statue were emitting a green light. It was very lifelike. "Is this the strongest prophet?" Lu Chen frowned slightly. To be carved in the 9 extremes formation, what kind of background did this guy have? At the very least, he was sure that this guy was a super expert from ancient times. Unfortunately, he couldn't find the answer here. Lu Chen had to think of a way to break the formation first. "It looks like it really helped me become a prophet. Then I just need to activate the other 8 stone pillars." After all, this was a formation. Apart from the prophet pole, which didn't have any fog, the other places were filled with fog. Lu Chen didn't dare to wander around. He first returned to the center of the 9 extremes formation. Then, he followed the direction indicated by the runes on the ground and walked northeast. He didn't encounter any danger on the way. At the end of this pole, Lu Chen also found a stone pillar. The stone pillar was carved with all kinds of herbs, cauldrons, goo worms, refining the universe, controlling life and death. There was also a carving of a person on the stone pillar. It was a giant with a medicine basket on his back. Medicine master? Little Green, I'll leave this to you. After Lu Chen finished speaking, he summoned Lu Yi. Chapter 8:10. The two of them studied the stone pillar. When Lve touched the stone pillar with her hand, the stone pillar reacted. Boss, it gave me a test. Lu Yi suddenly said. And what kind of test? Pill refining, healing, poison and goo. You can choose anyone. Then I'll definitely choose pill refining. Lu Yi nodded. She was best at pill refining. Boss, there doesn't seem to be any danger here. Leave it to me. When I'm done with the test, I'll go back to the starting point and wait for you. Lu Chen left Little Furball behind. With Little Furball around, it would be much safer. Alright, then I'll go take a look elsewhere. The Eastern Stone Pillar was a sword spirit. When Lu Chen touched it, a few options appeared in his mind. Sword technique, sword realm, sword body. He could choose any one of the 3 and complete the test. Sword realm should be like Gu Fei's sword intent. As for sword body, I don't have one. Then I'll choose sword technique. Lu Chen felt a little heartache. His sacred lotus sword heart was actually used for the test. Forget it. This is also a type of treasure snatching. Anyway, I can recover. During the test, I'm not required to use soul body as one. I have to go all out. It probably has something to do with the final test result. Lu Chen thought for a moment. In the end, he activated Divine Demon Symbiosis, 3 Lives Reincarnation, Death Ground, and many other skills to increase his status. Pulling out Limitless Sword, Lu Chen activated the skill on the stone pillar. Fierce Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. 1080 Sword Chi slammed into the stone pillar. Every attack seemed to want to shatter the stone pillar. Lu Chen noticed that when the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart slammed into the stone pillar, the bottom of the stone pillar would light up a little. With every attack, the height of the stone pillar would light up a little. When 200 Sword Chi slammed into the stone pillar, the 7 to 8 meter tall stone pillar was completely lit up. This should mean that he had passed the test. However, once the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart was used, there was no reason to withdraw it. 1080 Sword Chi slammed into the stone pillar mercilessly. Suddenly, with a bang, the stone pillar was cut in half by the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Fuck this. Lu Chen panicked. The 9 extreme array should be a special array formation for testing. In other words, this should be the Ancient Heart Refining Academy's test. In the end, he broke the stone pillar. Did this mean that he had destroyed the test paper during the exam? Usually, this kind of situation meant that he would not get any results. Fuck teacher. Come and take a look. The stone pillar was broken. Principal. Lu Chen called out everywhere, but no one responded. What the hell? Lu Chen facepalmed. What the fuck, it's fine if I use the Holy Sword Lotus Heart properly, but why did I use Fierce Tiger descends the mountain? Lu Chen was filled with regret. Ferocious Tiger descends the mountain, descends your soul. This is great, even the stone pillars are broken. Lu Chen didn't know if the founder of the Heart Refining Courtyard had noticed, but he suddenly had an idea. He hurriedly ran to the stone pillar, picked up the broken stone pillar, and put it back on the stone pillar. After being cut by the Holy Sword Lotus Heart, the stone pillar was neatly broken. In the end, he really put it back on the stone pillar. It would be even better if there was some glue. Lu Chen didn't care so much anymore. He hurriedly went to the next testing area. The next area was the Beast Tamer. Spirit Exorcism, Spirit Beast Tamer. These were the 2 general branches of Beast Tamer, Spirit Beast Tamer and Spirit Beast Tamer. Although Lu Chen had a Spirit Beast Tamer, Xiao Min, Little Green, and the Alchemy Boy weren't good at fighting. Naturally, they chose Beast Tamer. However, The requirement for Beast Tamer was to release all battle pets. Do I really need all battle pets? Lu Chen was terrified. This stone pillar wouldn't break again, right? There was no other way. This was the requirement of the test. 8 divine beasts, 8 ultimate divine beasts, plus the young extreme E nether glow and extreme yang illumination. That wasn't all. Lu Chen still had to go back and pull the little furball over. Just as he returned to Lu Yi's side, Lu Chen discovered that the sky above had changed greatly. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and strong winds rose. If it wasn't for the dense fog here, the scene would have been very terrifying. The pill is out. This is an astronomical phenomenon. It's another top-grade pill. Lu Chen didn't disturb Lu Yi for the time being. As expected, Lu Yi didn't want to be a burden to Lu Chen this time. She mustered all her strength and used all her knowledge to refine an 8th-grade pill. With a crack, the alchemist's stone pillar cracked. Fuck. Lu Chen and Lu Yi were dumbfounded. Lu Yi covered her mouth, her eyes filled with fear. Boss let her pass the test, but she broke the stone pillar. How could she explain this to Boss? It's over. Lu Chen hurriedly rushed over. When Lu Yi saw that Boss was actually nearby, she didn't know what to do. Boss, I didn't do it on purpose. It asked me to refine the highest grade pill no matter how many materials I used. Don't say anymore. It's not your fault. Lu Chen hurriedly supported the stone pillar and stuffed the broken pieces back. He barely managed to prevent the stone pillar from falling. Let's go. Lu Chen pulled Lu Yi and ran with the little fur ball. She broke another one. This time her results would be terrible. Along the way, Lu Yi's eyes were red. Lu Chen hurriedly said, "Little green, it's okay. Actually, I also broke another one. Moreover, for the next test, I think it will also break." Ah, really? Lu Yi finally heaved a sigh of relief. That's great. If Boss can't pass the test, then it won't be all because of me. Lu Chen's face was filled with despair. Isn't this broken stone pillar too old? Damn, forget it. I reckon that I won't be able to get the treasure this time. Let's finish the test and quickly get out. The beast-taming stone pillar was currently being attacked by various godly beasts and the little furball. Now that Lu Chen had several mature godly beasts, the little furball was going overboard. This fellow knew that Boss would not be able to pass the test, so it simply bit the stone pillar. How could that stone pillar withstand such torment? Before it completely lit up, it was already bitten off by the little furball. Then a bunch of godly beasts started to bombard it. This stone pillar did not even have the chance to be restored. Lu Chen looked on helplessly as these fellows destroyed his test paper. He was already numb. Anyhow, I've raised you for so long. You really don't mind the trouble. Lu Chen looked like he had nothing left to live for. It wasn't easy to get such an opportunity, and now it's gone. Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen sympathetically. Boss, I'm sorry for your loss. Alas. Lu Chen shook his head and walked to the next stone pillar with a bunch of battle pets. Spirit fingertips, puppet strings. Puppeteer. One was a puppet controlled by strings, and the other was a puppet of the soul. Su Yuan was not with him, but Lu Chen still had the puppeteer manipulation skill, so he directly tested it. The easiest way to test the puppeteer manipulation skill was to test whether or not he could control the puppets. The stone pillar opened from the center, revealing a large number of hidden compartments. From top to bottom, there were a large number of puppet models. There were a large number of puppets here, many of which Lu Chen had never seen before. Occasionally he would see some of them, but they were all difficult to deal with so far, such as extremely rare puppets like the rock trolls. Low-level puppets didn't seem to deserve to be there. Lu Chen had been looking for Su Yuan's model, but he couldn't find it even though he had searched the lower rows. Is it possible? Su Yuan and I are the best at cooperating. Alas, the third heaven is also stable. It's a pity that I haven't found the lower realm token for the fifth heaven. Otherwise, I would have gone back and brought Su Yuan back. Chapter 8:11. Finally, Lu Chen found a black mass of air with no fixed shape in the top few rows. Junior Originator, is that you? Lu Chen looked up at the puppet model. Junior Originator didn't have a specific shape. Its body was like this twisting black mass. There shouldn't be any other puppets that looked like this. In this case, Lu Chen tried to establish a connection with the model using psychic manipulation. At this moment, the model of Junior Originator, which was the black mass of air, suddenly opened its eyes. It even spoke. The voice didn't belong to Junior Originator. It sounded like some kind of machine without any emotion. Match with the test subject puppet. Puppet is the source of innate spiritual qi. As soon as the model finished speaking, a cracking sound came from outside the stone pillar. Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat. The sound was so familiar. Was the pillar going to crack again? The target puppet is too powerful. Trying to track the puppet's position. The puppet's position is more than 2,000 meters, more than 2,000 miles, more than one celestial realm. The puppet is now in the third celestial realm. Test result. Puppetry is a psychic manipulation. It perfectly matches the source of innate spiritual qi of a legendary puppet. The source of innate spiritual qi is gradually developing intelligence. Conclusion. Puppetry has reached the stage of giving life. Crack. 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 The stone pillar began to close, but as it closed, cracks began to appear on the outside. Lu Chen looked on helplessly as the stone pillar cracked. He couldn't help but shake his head. Big brother, hold on. Don't crack. Please. With a boom, the stone pillar was broken into pieces. It seemed that it couldn't be put back together. Lu Chen was dumbfounded. He could understand why the Saint Lotus Sword Heart and the monster-controlling stone pillar and the medicine master stone pillar were broken, but why was the puppet master stone pillar broken? He just used psychic manipulation, and the stone pillar was broken? Boss, I guess, the stone pillar couldn't bear the exhaustion because of the cross-celestial realm tracking, so. Lu Yi comforted him. Lu Chen shook his head regretfully. Why did you track Junior Originator? It's in the third celestial realm. Why did you track it? Why didn't you ask me directly? I'll be damned. I'm falling apart. Very good. I tested 4 and broke 4. Lu Chen was no longer angry. Forget it. I can forget about the treasure. I just hope that the principal won't beat me to death when I get out. The test still had to be completed. As a talisman master, Lu Chen's heavenly might chess array should still be safe. It was just a mystic grade array. It was definitely not considered powerful in the fifth heaven. However, just as Lu Chen was about to use the heavenly might chess array, the stone pillar suddenly reported an error. Please use the strongest formation you have mastered. This is my strongest array formation. Please use the demonic sky soul-scorching formation in your strongest state, the stone pillar said directly. Lu Chen gasped. The demonic sky scorching soul array was taught to him by the flame demon. The flame demon said that this array was very powerful. It was indeed powerful. This was a heaven-grade array. Moreover, it was special in that the power of the flames on the ground was linked to the user's strength. It had a certain growth potential. Although the demonic sky soul-scorching formation was much more powerful than the heavenly might chess game, the heavenly might chess game was still more powerful when it came to trapping people. As long as it was set up, Lu Chen did not even need to do anything to trap the opponent inside. In addition, because the demonic sky soul-scorching formation consumed a lot of spirit energy, it required a continuous supply of spirit energy. Lu Chen would definitely not use this kind of technique that consumed a lot of spirit energy for no reason, unless it was a group attack. It was to the point that he did not even remember the demonic sky soul-scorching formation. However, even though he did not remember, the stone pillar knew. Before Lu Chen came, he was still quite confident. However, after being exposed, he could not help but feel apprehensive. Boss, it knows that you are still hiding an array. Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen sympathetically. This pillar can't be protected, right? Lu Chen took a deep breath. I haven't used the demonic sky soul-scorching formation for a while. It shouldn't be that strong. But isn't that array linked to your attack? Don't you know how strong your attack is when you are in your strongest state? Forget it, I won't look anymore. I will go to the next stone pillar and wait for you. Lu Chen's temper dissipated after hearing Lu Yi's words. Looking at the stone pillar in front of him, he suddenly felt a sense of sadness. This was the test that he was most confident in, but there was an accident. This test could not be more screwed up. 10 minutes later, Lu Chen arrived in front of the monk's stone pillar. Lu Yi looked back at the dejected Lu Chen and said indifferently, "Shattered?" Lu Chen nodded helplessly. Sigh. Lu Yi did not know how to comfort her boss, and could only let out a long sigh. Sigh. Lu Chen also let out a long sigh. This is the monks. Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen. Buddha saves all lives was taught to him by the mountain man. Who was the mountain man? He was just an itinerant immortal. Speaking of which, the only thing that Buddha saves all lives was afraid of was physical damage. This was unavoidable, but no other skills could restrain this move. This also showed the level of this move. Thinking of this, Lu Chen felt weak all over. During the test, the stone pillar let Lu Chen enter the virtual environment and simulate the soul-body fusion state while it turned into a long rod. Detecting abnormal attributes of the tester's soul-body fusion state. Adjusting the attack power according to the opponent's attributes. Exceeding the attack load. Exceeding the attack load. Forcing an attack. The result was self-evident. Buddha saves all lives directly locked his health and removed the negative status. After returning to reality, the stone pillar actually did not break. Lu Chen opened his eyes wide in disbelief. Little green, it didn't break. This one didn't break. I did it. Yes, boss, at least we left a glimmer of hope. At this moment, the stone pillar spoke again. Test results. Results. Abnormal, please choose another skill to reevaluate. The stone pillar seemed to have malfunctioned as it stuttered while speaking. Abnormal test results? Other skills. Oh, I still have Buddha body transformation and Buddha body clone. Please show them. After Buddha body transformation, Lu Chen suddenly had 3 heads and 6 arms. Using Buddha body clone, he split his body into 3 and each clone was a real body. After demonstrating seriously, Lu Chen stared at the stone pillar nervously. Skill evaluation. Unable to search for this skill in the skill library. Suspected data malfunction. In this test, the data is abnormal many times. The program is chaotic and cannot be repaired. Initiating self-destruction program. Hey, wait. This stone pillar had a bad temper. After 2 tests, it had malfunctioned and self-destructed in a fit of anger. With a bang, Lu Chen collapsed. Lu Chen didn't know what to say. This stone pillar actually adjusted its attack according to the attributes of his battle soul. As it adjusted, it exceeded its upper limit. Boss, did it self-destruct? This time, it seems like there's no way to fix it. Lu Yi said faintly. Lu Chen shook his head. The monk's stone pillar also had a high chance. In the end, the stone pillar was stubborn and insisted on competing with his battle soul. In the end, it self-destructed. Boss, do you think we won't be able to get out if you destroy the stone pillar? Lu Yi suddenly asked. Lu Chen thought about it and felt that it wasn't impossible. I don't know. It's an array. Even if we can't get out, we should be able to break it. Let's take a look at the last 2 stone pillars. There were still 2 stone pillars left. First, it was the martial artist. The stone pillar actually asked Lu Chen to use his strongest martial artist close combat skill. Lu Chen almost cried. No way, don't be like this. I'll just do a rough test. Why are you so serious? The stone pillar persisted. Lu Chen had no choice but to activate the divine demon Lotus Heart. Inner demon. With one move, the stone pillar disappeared. There was no suspense at all. Chapter 8:12. Standing in front of the last stone pillar, Lu Chen was already in despair. Elemental spiritual explosion. Intimidating 10,000 miles. Explosives experts were divided into 2 branches. Elemental Explosives Master and Psionic Explosives Master. Lu Chen only had one Explosives Master skill, Psionic Space Cannon. He trembled as he took out his psionic cannon. With a sad face, he looked at Lu Yi pitifully. Lu Yi couldn't bear to watch anymore. She turned her head. Sigh. What should come will come. The stone pillar required him to use the strongest attack, and it was the strongest attack again. Death was at hand. What was the point of looking at the strongest attack? God wants me to die. Lu Chen cried sadly. Fire suppression. This time he didn't use Fierce Tiger descends the mountain. 25 psionic space cannon blasted at the stone pillar. The stone pillar's energy was instantly replenished. Then the stone pillar withstood 1 or 2 cannonballs and was directly blown to pieces. At this point, all 8 stone pillars were destroyed. Fortunately, what Lu Yi was worried about didn't happen. When they returned to the original point, they found that there was a portal here. Lu Chen hurriedly jumped out with Lu Yi. Back in front of the door, the 9 extreme universe array drawn on the door was beyond recognition. Lu Chen remembered what he had done just now. It was all displayed on the 9 extreme universe array on the door. In other words, the 2 stone pillars that he repaired should have been seen clearly by the principal. No one in the room spoke for a long time. Probably the principal didn't want to talk to him anymore. Lu Chen could only shake his head. That cough senior, I'm really sorry. After all, it's been too long. We all know that the array needs spiritual power to maintain. After such a long time, those pillars must have aged. I really didn't mean to destroy them. The other party still didn't speak. It seemed that the principal didn't want to talk to him at all. Forget it. After destroying your 9 extreme universe array, I'm embarrassed to ask for any more treasures. Senior, I'll take my leave first. Lu Chen reluctantly looked at the door and finally shook his head. He found the little golden carp and said, Little guy, let's go. I have no fate with the treasures here. Just as Lu Chen was about to leave, the voice suddenly shouted, Stop! Lu Chen was startled. Listening to his tone, the other party wouldn't want him to compensate, right? Come back. I told you to come back. Don't you want the treasure? At the mention of treasures, Lu Chen immediately became spirited, but considering that the other party might be trying to trick him, he hesitantly moved over. There's still hope to get the treasure? You bastard, you actually passed all the tests of the 8 major professions with full marks. You really don't have a main class, because your 8 main classes are so strong that it's unbelievable. Lu Chen did not dare to interrupt. Who the hell are you? My Heart Refinement Institute actually produced a genius like you. I really didn't expect this. I'm so happy. Well, as long as you're happy. Lu Chen smiled apologetically. He always felt a little guilty for breaking someone else's things. Solipsistic, right? You really have the right to be arrogant. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I definitely wouldn't have believed it. The other party seemed unusually excited. Do you know who those carvings on the stone pillars are? I don't know, Lu Chen answered honestly. Those are the people with the best results in the various professions in the history of the Heart Refinement Institute. Of course, now that thousands of years have passed, some of them might have fallen, but if they didn't, they would be the overlords of a region. Lu Chen nodded. Anyway, he didn't know who the overlords were. Even if he told him, he wouldn't know. And you actually broke 8 records by yourself. Unbelievable. Since you entered Jiutian, did you not choose a profession? Lu Chen nodded. I didn't choose one. I say, if you choose a profession from the start, then your future development will definitely follow the main profession's attribute requirements. This way, very few long-range fighters will be good at close combat, and those who use magic won't spend time learning how to fight. And it's precisely because you didn't choose a profession from the start that the further you go, the more limitless your possibilities are. By the way, are your current points distributed evenly? Lu Chen nodded. It's distributed evenly. I also want to increase one attribute to the maximum, but a few attributes are very important to me, so I can't just increase 1 or 2 attributes. Yes, it must be like that. After all, you're an all-rounder. As the founder of the Heart Refinement Institute, this person was very enthusiastic when it came to adding points. He felt like a good teacher. Speaking of which, although all-rounders have limitless potential, for them in the early stages, the difficulty is 100 times higher than for ordinary people. And even in the later stages, if an all-rounder can't reach the peak in every field, then they will go from being the strongest to being the most mediocre. And you really seem to have reached the maximum. Lu Chen was a little embarrassed to be praised by the dean for so long, but he didn't care about this. Finally, he asked tentatively, Then old Dean, my reward. Reward? Of course you can have it. Lu Chen let out a long sigh of relief, and his whole body felt better. But, Kuang, that actually, I didn't make it clear to you before. When Lu Chen heard this, he suddenly had an ominous premonition. During the War of Gods and Demons, the entire Heart Refinement Institute assisted the war gods of the Seven Kingdoms to resist the enemy, and became a thorn in the side of the magical beast army. Then it was destroyed. At that time, the Hidden Sword Pavilion and the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion were all destroyed, and only this Hidden Treasure Pavilion was defended with my life. But first, the long war made our Hidden Treasure Pavilion almost empty. At that time, we lowered the test threshold and tried to distribute the treasures. Second, we actually ordered people to transfer some important treasures. Third, at that time, the bottom floor of the Hidden Treasure Pavilion was destroyed, and only this floor was left, so what? So, if I remember correctly, there's only one useless treasure left. Ah. No wonder you said that you can only take one treasure. So there's only one left? And it's the one left behind by so many people? Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Dean, I came all the way here, and you're cheating me like this? It can't be considered cheating. It's a treasure. No matter how useless it is, it's still a treasure. Moreover, this treasure is useless to us, but to you, it's practically tailor-made for you. The old Dean's voice was trembling. I even feel that the meaning of my life is perhaps to protect this treasure, and let it find its true owner. Can you not make it sound so mysterious? You're raising my expectations. Lu Chen felt that the old Dean was becoming more and more unreliable. Go in and take a look at the treasure first. Lu Chen shook his head and reluctantly walked to the stone door. With a gentle push, the door to the Hidden Treasure Pavilion opened just like that. The inner chamber was actually only a small room. According to the Dean, this seemed to be the top floor of the Hidden Treasure Pavilion. Dean, shouldn't the top floor of the Hidden Treasure Pavilion be the most important treasures? Why do you say that it's a useless treasure? You'll know when you see it. The Hidden Treasure Pavilion wasn't large, but Lu Chen immediately saw a very familiar stone. Destiny Stone? Back then, it was the Destiny Stone that had helped Lu Chen choose the 3 transformations of demons and gods. It seemed that using the Destiny Stone to help students choose their rewards was a tradition of the Heart Tempering Institute. Yes, but it's already lost its vitality. The Destiny Stone had no luster. In front of the Destiny Stone was a metal box. This should be the treasure. Lu Chen walked over and opened the box. A black mist instantly surged out of the box and covered the entire room. Inside the box was a scroll. Remnant Scroll of the 9 Transformations of Demons and Gods, Volume 7. Seeing these words, Lu Chen felt his heart almost stop. Chapter 8:13. The 3 transformations of celestial demons came from the Heart Tempering Academy. Who would have thought that the 7th volume was also in the Heart Tempering Academy? Lu Chen began to wonder what kind of place the Heart Tempering Academy was. Although the 9 transformations of celestial demons remnant scroll was precious, without the first few volumes, the 7th volume would be useless to most people. Furthermore, there were very few people who could cultivate the 9 transformations of celestial demons. Even if the entire 9 transformations of celestial demons were placed in front of an ordinary person, they probably wouldn't be able to unleash the full power of the 9 transformations of celestial demons. In that case, the remnant scroll was placed on the top floor of the Heart Tempering Academy's treasury, yet it was called the most useless treasure. It seemed to make sense. No matter what, the remnant scroll was too important to Lu Chen. It was something he had been searching for all this time. I've worn out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Lu Chen's hands trembled as he held the scroll. It's not completely without effort. Do you think just anyone can pass the 9 extremes formations test? The principal said. It's a pity that my 9 extremes formation. Lu Chen suddenly felt a little embarrassed. That principal, I'm really sorry. Forget it. It's been thousands of years, and it's been tested on too many academies. Today its mission is complete, so it can rest well. The principal's voice sounded a little weary. That's right. Xiao Kuang, Speaking of which, since you're an all-rounder, your performance isn't that good. Lu Chen didn't quite understand the principal's words, so he quietly waited for him to continue. What? Do you think I'm wrong? Let's not talk about whether your situation is rare or not. Since you're an all-rounder, then let's say you're an all-rounder. You should have mastered the skills of all the professions, but you don't know the skills of a prophet. Even if your other profession's skills are very strong, you still have a shortcoming. Therefore, you can't be considered an all-rounder. Lu Chen blinked. It seemed like there was no problem with that. Xiao Kuang, you've cultivated the #1 forbidden technique of the Jiutian, and you've even reached the 6 transformations of celestial demons. This means that you're someone who's insistent on your own ideas. So I'm guessing that you're not interested in the branch of prophets, right? Lu Chen nodded. I'm not interested. What about the other branch of the prophets? In other words, an elementalist? Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, Elemental mages are very powerful in battle. I have a friend who is an ice mage. When I sparred with her, I could clearly feel the power of elemental mages. It's just that, senior, you're making it sound too easy. Those powerful skills aren't something that can be found everywhere. Besides, when I went to the Heavenly Lake to test my elemental affinity, it seemed to be some kind of elemental insulator. Elemental insulator? What element were you testing? Lightning element. If it's the lightning element test, there shouldn't be any problems. Could it be that you really are an elemental insulator? The voice fell into deep thought. This will be very detrimental to your future development. Lu Chen was indifferent. Actually, it's nothing. I'm not afraid of other people's elemental attacks. Why? That voice immediately asked. Lu Chen had a slip of the tongue. However, thinking that this remnant soul wouldn't harm him, Lu Chen decided to tell the truth. I have the primal chaos elemental attack. Primal chaos element. You said you have the primal chaos elemental attack type. How much can it convert? 100% conversion. 100% conversion. Oh my god. Wait, if it's 100% conversion, then that means your spirit pill. Little Kuang, what kind of spirit pill is your spirit pill? Lu Chen realized that the old principal's character of wanting to get to the bottom of things was really suitable for teaching theory. Hurry up and tell me. You don't have to worry that I'll tell others. Actually, when I activated the 9 Extremes Universe Array, I already used up the remaining spirit energy. I won't exist for much longer. I only have a few minutes left. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. Suddenly his heart tightened. Was Senior going to dissipate soon? He had guarded this remaining treasure pavilion for thousands of years. When he came back, he used up all his spirit energy to activate the 9 Extremes Universe Array. His mission was the same as the 9 Extremes Universe Array. If it wasn't for Senior, he probably wouldn't have been able to find the 7th scroll of the 9 transformations of gods and demons. Although he didn't activate the 9 Extremes formation specifically for Lu Chen, perhaps he would activate the 9 Extremes formation for any other student of the Heart Refinement Institute. Perhaps this was fate. The person who came was Lu Chen. This also allowed these 2 strangers, who were separated by thousands of years, to have a close relationship. Even though he didn't know much about the founder of the Heart Refining Academy, Lu Chen seemed to be able to imagine such a person. An old man who put all his efforts into the Heart Refining Academy. Just as the Heart Refining Academy was developing and expanding, the demon beasts suddenly invaded. He led the students and joined forces with the 7 countries to resist the demon invasion. On the eve of the final battle, he lowered the difficulty of the test and did his best to distribute the treasures he had collected throughout his life to the students. He only left behind this 9 Extremes Universe Array. In order to prevent it from falling into the hands of the demon beasts, he fought to the death to protect it and finally died. Before his death, he left behind a trace of his soul, waiting for a fated person to open the ancient Heart Refining Academy's treasure pavilion in the future. He still remembered that when he heard Lu Chen mention the Heart Refining Academy, he was silent for a long time. Perhaps the founder of the Heart Refining Academy was once his disciple. After a short period of interaction, Lu Chen could feel that the old man must have been a respected expert when he was alive. He was a good teacher and helpful friend. Senior Yu, I can transfer my spiritual energy to you, Lu Chen said. Hearing Lu Chen's words, the old principal was silent for a moment. Finally, his tone softened. Xiao Kuang, thank you for your kindness. I've waited here for thousands of years. Originally, I didn't even know what hope was. But today I received 2 pieces of great news. In today's Jiutian, the Heart Refining Academy still exists. You are still using the badge I designed. Look at the design of the 2 hands holding up a planet on the badge. That's my design. Doesn't that mean hope? Also, I know that a genius has appeared in the Heart Refining Academy. Even in my era, he's a genius who could shine in all directions. Xiao Kuang, I'm glad that you're still alive. I'm grateful, but there's no reason for me to exist anymore. My mission has been completed, and my wish has been fulfilled. I have no regrets. No, I still have a small regret. Xiao Kuang, I still have a few minutes left. Maybe I can give you some guidance. Lu Chen felt that it was a pity, but the old principal didn't have much time left. It was better to fulfill his last wish. Senior, my spiritual pill is an ancient spiritual pill. When necessary, it can be converted into a chaos spiritual pill. Ancient spiritual pill. I've never heard of it, but I've heard of chaos spiritual pills. My guess was right. I know why you're an elemental insulator. Chapter 8:14. Xiao Kuang, everything in the world is more or less related to the elements, so elemental insulators are extremely rare. I know of a few elemental insulators, all of them have extremely rare physiques. But you don't seem to be special. Lu Chen listened carefully. So when you said that you are an elemental insulator, I didn't believe it at first, but now I understand. The reason why you are an elemental insulator is because of your spirit core. Your spirit core must have entered the state of chaos spirit core. The chaos element does not belong to any element, but it also belongs to any element. Simply put, all elements are separated from the chaos state. Once your spirit core enters the state of chaos spirit core, it will change the characteristics of your spirit core, so you no longer have an individual affinity to any element. In other words, you are indeed an elemental insulator. However, on the other hand, you actually have an affinity to any element, so while you are an elemental insulator, you are also an elemental affinity person. I don't know if you understand this explanation. Lu Chen nodded. I understand, but is there any practical significance? Of course there is. With the help of some skills, you can change the spirit core's attribute to control the affinity to a certain element in order to pursue the ultimate affinity bonus. At the same time, you can also learn any elemental skills and spells. Lu Chen frowned. It sounded very powerful. How do I change it? This is just my inference after all. I have never met a school like yours, but I am at least 70% sure that my inference is not wrong. As for how to change it, you have to figure it out yourself. Xiao Kuang, I don't have much time, so I will make it short. I was an elemental mage when I was alive. While speaking, a scroll suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chen. Although you aren't willing to take me as your master, you are still my student. I'm most proficient in fire attribute magic. This raging flames burning the heavens has a total of 3 layers. Burning sea, burning star, and burning heaven. The cultivation threshold is fire affinity. In the past, I could only cultivate up to burning sea. Now I'll give this cultivation method to you. Whether you can cultivate to the 2nd layer, or even the 3rd layer of burning star will depend on your perception and luck. Lu Chen took the scroll. For the 1st level, the requirement for fire affinity was 200. Lu Chen didn't know what his affinity was, but according to the display, he couldn't learn it right now. When you learn this cultivation method, you will be a true all-professional. Ha ha. To be able to create an all-professional school, the old principal was quite impressive. Thank you, Senior. Lu Chen temporarily put the raging flames burn the heavens. Xiao Kuang, this is the founding token of the Heart Refining Academy. I know you are not willing to be my disciple, but you have already received my inheritance, so you can be considered my student. I don't know if anyone else recognizes this token. Perhaps only those on the 9 extreme stone pillars still remember it. Although I have no real power, if the Heart Refining Academy goes against its original intention, I have the right to take back their names and badges. Lu Chen took the token that flew over. On the token were the words, Empty Heart Refinement. Senior, is this your name? It is the name of my battle soul. Lu Chen nodded. No wonder it was called the Heart Refining Academy. It was named after the battle soul. Then what is the original intention of the Heart Refining Academy? It is on the back of the token. Lu Chen hurriedly flipped the token over. Indeed, there were a few words written on it. Hard work, tenacity, courage, kindness. Why did it feel like a school motto? This was probably the earliest school motto. However, Lu Chen still believed in the principle of kindness. It was rare to be able to maintain this principle in the Jiutian. Perhaps it was because of this that the Heart Refining Academy stood up when the demonic beasts invaded. He was right about the headmaster. Alright, my mission is complete. I have no more regrets. Kuang, I hope you can reach the peak of martial arts. Unfortunately, I won't have the chance to see you. See you never. Kong Lianxin's voice became fainter. Senior, wait. Lu Chen hurriedly said. Is there anything else? Senior, do you know where the 5 ancient spiritual veins are? 5 ancient spiritual veins? Let me think. It is indeed a long time ago. There is a sacred mountain. Yes, it is in the Eastern Peak Nation. This spiritual source is very close to the Heart Refining Academy. We are relying on this spiritual source. There is no mistake. Kong Lianxin's voice became fainter and fainter. I know about the sacred mountain. What about the other 4? Lu Chen hurriedly asked. There is one in the Baisher Nation. It is called Ink Pupil Grand Canyon. Yes, Ink Pupil Grand Canyon. Do you want to go there? It is very dangerous. There are 3 more. Senior, your voice is too soft. I can't hold on any longer. Kuang, goodbye. Finally, Kong Lianxin's voice disappeared. No matter how much Lu Chen called out, Kong Lianxin did not respond. Lu Chen let out a long sigh, feeling lost in his heart. Senior Kong, thank you for the inheritance. I didn't have the chance to thank you earlier. Lu Chen shook his head helplessly. Fate came and went quickly. He did not even have the chance to say goodbye to Kong Lianxin. In the end, Kong Lianxin told him about the location of a spiritual vein in the Baisher Nation's Ink Pupil Grand Canyon. Benefactor, he seems to have left. The little golden carp's head was still floating on the surface of the water. Lu Chen nodded. Yes, that is his remnant soul. He has used up all his spiritual energy and has dissipated. Benefactor, didn't he give you a scroll? Is it a martial arts scroll? You can cultivate here. The spiritual energy here is very abundant. Moreover, no one will disturb you. It is very safe. The little golden carp should be talking about the raging flames burning the heavens. Lu Chen could not cultivate now. Even though Kong Lianxin said that his chaos spiritual pill could theoretically convert any element, it could not be converted at will. It needed other skills as a medium. For example, Lu Chen could convert 100% of his attacks into lightning element. In fact, it was the effect of Shenlu. He now needed a skill to convert the fire element. Only then could he slowly study it. However, Lu Chen could learn the 7th transformation here. Alright then, I'll stay here and cultivate for a bit. Speaking of which, Lu Chen's opportunity this time was thanks to the little golden carp. Hey little guy, I have something to ask you. Benefactor, please ask. How do you know that there are treasures in Autumn Water Lake? Oh, I accidentally found it when I was passing by. Accidentally found it? Lu Chen was about to collapse. Could this kind of place be accidentally found? Why didn't he encounter such a good thing? Some people said that its real name was Mysterious Gold Koi. It was indeed a koi. Following it would bring good luck. Its luck was different from Rhubarb's. Rhubarb was a treasure hunter. If the treasure was in a certain place, it could find it. But the little golden carp was different. It appeared in an unknown lake in the north of Lower King City. Then a treasure appeared there. It appeared in Autumn Water Lake and accidentally found the ancient Heart Refining Courtyard's treasure vault. He felt that wherever it appeared, there would be treasures. Chapter 8:15. Little fella, are you interested in following me in the future? Lucian invited it without hesitation. The little golden carp seemed to be very excited. Its eyes were filled with anticipation, but it also seemed to be in a difficult position. Benefactor, I also want to follow you, but now is not the time. I still have a lot of things to do. Lucian saw that it seemed to have some difficulties, so he didn't force it. He released little furball. Lucian warned it not to have any ideas about the little golden carp. This fella had to be on guard at all times. If he didn't make it clear, whatever carp it was, it could be eaten alive. The little golden carp seemed to be a little afraid of little furball. It said to Lucian, Benefactor, if you are done with your cultivation, call me. I will be beside you. When the time comes, I will bring you out. After saying that, the little golden carp turned its head and dived into the lake. Lucian looked at little furball helplessly. It must have scared the little golden carp away. Little furball, help me look after it. I want to learn some skills. After instructing it, Lucian went to the treasury and opened the Book of God and Demon Remnant. Learn the 7th scroll. Lucian had already learned the first 6 scrolls. He could learn the 7th scroll in one go. After learning it, Lucian began to look at the skills in detail. God 7 and Demon 7 both strengthened God 6 and Demon 6. Their attributes increased by 100%. To Lucian, whose attributes were already very high, the increase in strength was quite obvious. After all, only the 3rd and 6th transformations of the 9 transformations of God and Demon would have powerful skills. Then, according to this inference, the strongest move of the 9 transformations of God and Demon should appear during the 9th transformation. However, other than the 100% increase in attributes or attack, the 7 transformations of God and Demon didn't have any active skills. In the description, Lucian found an important piece of information. When the celestial demon symbiosis is activated, you will inherit the attributes of the 7 God transformations and the 7 demon transformations. Under the celestial demon symbiosis state, you will be able to activate the first order celestial demon body. Celestial demon astral form. Movement speed increased by 400%. Speed displacement skills enjoy the same increase. 5 senses increased by 400%. User will not be targeted by any skills. Attack speed and skill release speed increased by 400%. User can lock on to celestial bodies of 9 professions that are rank 2 and below. After locking on, the target will not be forced out of the celestial body state. During the duration of celestial demon astral form, the target will not be able to enter the celestial body state again. After obtaining the rank 1 divine demon star constitution, the number of attacks of the Holy Lotus Sword Heart, Calamity of God's Grace, and Purgatory of 10,000 demons have been doubled, and the number of times they can be used in reserve has been increased by 1. Cooldown reduced by 2 days. Duration, 8 seconds. Cooldown, 15 days. Collect more Divine Fiend sets to extend the duration and reduce the cooldown. Lucian looked at the description of the godly devil astral body and didn't react for a long time. Unfortunately, the 7 transformations of God and Demon didn't have any new active skills. However, the godly devil astral form had appeared. In fact, astral bodies had appeared in the various professions a long time ago. Lucian didn't know much about astral bodies. He only knew that it was one of the profession's skills. Every profession's astral body had its own unique characteristics. Poison masters could turn into poisonous fog. Sword spirits could turn themselves into a part of sword aura, which was equivalent to virtualizing their own bodies. Spirit controllers could merge with their summoned spirits. In comparison, the godly devil astral form seemed much weaker. His movement speed, attack speed, and casting speed were increased by 4 times. It felt much worse compared to the godly devil astral form, which could disappear at any time. However, Lucian knew that the godly devil astral form was stronger than any of the profession's astral bodies. With his super high movement speed, normal people couldn't possibly catch up to him. Those special skills with lock-on effects such as sword intent and mark couldn't lock on to the target either. This way, the effect was actually stronger than turning into poisonous fog. Poison Master's poisonous fog couldn't be easily discovered in a large area. After a sword spirit turned into sword aura, it could only move in the direction of the sword aura. The disadvantage of a spirit controller's astral body was also very obvious. When he merged with a spirit, although it strengthened the spirit, it was also bound to the spirit. However, the godly devil astral form was different. Lu Chen could move freely after activating the godly devil astral form. The most unreasonable thing about the godly devil astral form was that once it locked onto the target would be forced out of the astral form state. A Stage 1 godly devil astral form directly suppressed a Stage 2 astral form. This was something that had never happened before. In addition, as long as he obtained the godly devil astral form, all 3 skills would be strengthened. The other 2 seemed to be skills from other godly devils. Lu Chen still didn't know what they were, but he knew about the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Right now, the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart was his strongest skill. Now his attack count had doubled, and his reserve count had increased to 4. At the same time, the cooldown had decreased by 2 days, and it could be recovered once every 15 days. Damn, I was still saying that I was envious of the astral bodies of other professions. Now, it seems that no astral body is stronger than mine. Lu Chen was suddenly very excited. Too strong. The 7 transformations of the godly devil is too much for me. The godly devil symbiosis state doubles my attributes, and the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart doubles my attack speed. With the 2 stacks, the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart's damage is directly quadrupled. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Divine Demon Symbiosis was Lu Chen's strongest state when he didn't activate Soul Body as 1. The strengthening of Divine Demon Symbiosis would make Lu Chen even stronger in the 5th celestial layer. The rewards this time were too great, and had already exceeded his expectations. I wonder where the 8th and 9th volumes are. If I collect them all, what kind of effects will there be? I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, the clues of the 9 transformations of the godly devil were as confusing as the godly devil set. Until now, Lu Chen had not found any new clues. I'm afraid this kind of thing can't be forced. Let's deal with the matter at hand first. Lu Chen calmed himself down and took out his old map from his backpack. White Lion Nation's Ink Eye Valley should be there. Lu Chen used the search function and found the White Lion Nation. It was northwest of Dongyu Nation. In fact, it was not too far from Snow Mountain City, which was northwest of Dongyu Nation. Found it. There are also search results for the Magic Eye Valley. That's great. Before Lu Chen could finish his sentence, he saw the Magic Eye Valley displayed on the map and was stunned. There was indeed a Magic Eye Valley in the White Lion Nation. It was a huge valley that almost divided the White Lion Nation into 2. The valley was narrow at both ends and wide in the middle. From the map, it looked like an eye. This was probably where the name Magic Eye came from. Damn. It can't be. It's so big. If I want to search, wouldn't I have to cross an entire country? The country here was bigger than a continent on Earth. Senior Kong, you told me the name of a place, but it's like you didn't say anything. Lu Chen said gloomily. Forget it. At least I know where a spirit vein is. It's better than me wandering around like a headless fly. Lu Chen kept the map. Little fur ball, get ready to go. Chapter 8:16. The little golden carp had been waiting outside for a long time. Seeing Lu Chen and the others come out, it took Lu Chen back to the shore. There were still magical beasts at the bottom of the lake, but with the little golden carp there, they did not attack Lu Chen. On the shore, the little golden carp looked at Lu Chen reluctantly. Benefactor, little Jean is leaving. You have to be careful when you are alone in the future. Lu Chen smiled, squatted down and touched the little golden carp's head. You too. I hope we have a chance to meet again. Well, I will be careful. Benefactor, little Jean is leaving. Go. The little golden carp suddenly disappeared. Lu Chen sighed. This guy is very special. Withdrawing his gaze, Lu Chen turned around and left. Wearing the soldier's uniform, Lu Chen smoothly passed the first roadblock. When he passed by the Spirit Stone mine, the corpses outside the mine had been cleaned up, leaving only a few soldiers nearby. The dark cave entrance looked a little creepy. Lu Chen quickened his pace. This time, the journey to the White Lion Kingdom was long. Lu Chen still felt that he should go to the Dongyu Kingdom first to buy some daily necessities. Monarch City had 4 city gates and there was a line of words on each city gate. For example, the East Gate was open to people above Earth Cultivation. The North Gate was open to people above Grand Cultivator. The West Gate was open to cultivators above Grand Cultivator. And the South Gate was open to civilians. It was said that even people of different levels had to go through different gates according to their own realm. Lu Chen chose the West Gate to enter the kingdom. The kingdom was obviously different from Snow Mountain City or Lower King City. The streets were spacious and clean, and the buildings were very tasteful and neatly arranged. The specifications were many times higher than other small cities. Red bricks and black tiles. Not only did it have an ancient style, but it was also very tasteful. You could even see large buildings with 4 or 5 floors. There were often soldiers patrolling the streets. The pedestrians on the road were dressed in various fashions, and each of them had an extraordinary bearing. It's indeed the capital of Dongyue Nation. It's different from a small place. Lu Chen was like a country bumpkin entering a city. This feels a bit like the Forbidden City. There were no commoners among the people who could stay in the King City. If the locals were all experts, there would be no problem at all. Even the patrolling soldiers were at the Great Cultivator realm. It was easy to imagine what kind of people lived here. After entering the city through the west and south gates, the roads did not extend in all directions. Most of the areas were sealed off, and there were even more guards patrolling the area. It could be seen that cultivators were probably on the same level as commoners here. They were allowed to enter King City to trade, but their range of activity was very limited. However, Lu Chen wasn't here to stroll around. He was here to buy things. As long as he walked along the road, he would naturally reach the city center's trading area. At the trading point, commoners and practitioners would bring large amounts of magical beast materials and food ingredients. These were the main goods they could provide. They could only set up stalls on the ground to sell their goods. The shops on the other side were rented by some experts. As for what was sold inside, one would have to go in and take a look to know. Lu Chen bought some rare fresh ingredients in the grocery area. Some dry food was left on the road in case of an emergency. While strolling around, Lu Chen saw that some dragon hunters would take beast cores to the commercial area when they came to the trading area. It seemed that they were not allowed to sell beast cores. They could only sell them to the shops, and then the shops would sell them to others. Naked exploitation. Lu Chen shook his head and sighed. After buying the daily necessities, Lu Chen was ready to go to the shops. He was a cultivator after all, so he wasn't stopped for questioning. He went to a few shops. They were either selling medicinal herbs or elixirs, fashion, cultivation methods, and various materials. Why is there no equipment for sale in the 5th layer? They are all 4th layer items, and the price is so expensive. Lu Chen shook his head and went to the row of shops in front. Beast Core Specialization? Lu Chen glanced at the shop sign. There seemed to be a lot of people in the shop. When one was unfamiliar with the place, this kind of shop with a lot of people would usually be the first choice. It was either cheap or had rare items. Lu Chen thought for a moment. As long as he didn't encounter the royal family who were fighting for treasures in the royal city, especially the leader, he would be safe. Those people inside shouldn't be from the royal family. He would go in and take a look. There were many magical beast cores on display in the shop, from the 1st transformation to the 5th transformation. They were clearly divided according to their grades. Lu Chen had taken 7 5th transformation beast cores last time. His ancient bloodline didn't move at all, so he speculated that the 5th transformation beast cores had little effect on him. If he wanted to buy, he would have to buy something of a higher grade. There were at least 20 to 30 shop assistants in the shop, but they were all busy greeting others. Lu Chen looked for a long time, but no one came. When Lu Chen looked at their badges again, they were all at least Grand Cultivators. Even the shop assistants were Grand Cultivators. Were all the shops in the royal city so extravagant? Finally, a shop assistant came. That person was also a 3-star Grand Cultivator. He looked at Lu Chen's badge and frowned. 7-star wild cultivator. Yes. Do you have any higher grade beast cores here? The shop assistant couldn't help but look at him with contempt. His attitude wasn't as polite as the others. What transformation do you want? Is 3rd transformation enough? 6th to 8th transformation, Luchan said directly. 6th transformation. Kid, if you're here to broaden your horizons, don't waste my time. We have many big customers in our shop. I don't have time to play with you. Luchan frowned. Hey, you're opening a business. Those who come in are customers. How do you do business? That person was about to leave. Seeing Luchan's tough attitude, he sneered. What? You're not convinced? You're a 7-star cultivator. Do you think I can beat you to death when you step out of the shop? You want me to be polite to you? Please take a piss and take a look at your own virtue. Luchan was furious. But just as he was about to say something, a large group of people suddenly came in behind him. Seeing these people, the shop assistant, who was a cut above the rest, immediately went up to them and bowed. Wuwang, you're here. Do you want to buy or sell treasures this time? The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with a short beard. He had a strong body and wore a golden robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and tiger-like eyes. He had an extraordinary aura. I'll offer 26 transformation beast cores and 3 7th transformation beast cores. Let's see what price you're offering, Wu Wang said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Oh, you want to sell treasures? Then please come to the inner room and have a cup of tea. I'll call our boss. No need. I'm in a hurry. You can call your shopkeeper. I'll wait here, Wu Wang said in a tone that brooked no argument. Okay, then please wait a moment. I'll be right back. With that, the shop assistant ran into the inner room. Luchan stole a glance at Wu Wang. This guy had his badge blocked, so Luchan couldn't see his cultivation level. However, he could see the cultivation levels of the people behind him. 2-star Emperor cultivation. Luchan frowned slightly. Was Emperor cultivation a level below Earth cultivation? Based on his current attributes, an Earth cultivation's attributes were probably over 100,000. In other words, their strength was not far from his battle soul's strength. These levels were the highest that Luchan had ever seen, but it had nothing to do with what he wanted to buy. 26th transformation beast cores and 3 7th transformation beast cores had attracted so many people. A royal prince had come in person. Luchan reckoned that the price would definitely not be low. It was obviously not worth it for him to buy beast cores with a few million spirit stones. It was more practical to leave it for later. Thinking of this, Luchan decided to leave. At this moment, a young woman walked in through the door. Father, what's taking you so long? It takes so long to sell beast cores, and you still have to accompany me to buy them. The girl was about 17 or 18 years old. She rushed in impatiently. When she raised her head, she happened to see Luchan walking out. The two of them looked at each other, and were both stunned. The girl stared at Luchan while Luchan was dumbfounded. After a long time, Luchan frowned and said in surprise, Miss, did you get the wrong person? I'm not your father. I can't have a daughter as old as you. No, I didn't get it wrong. Luchan's mind was full of question marks. The girl suddenly shouted, Father, he's a solipsistic cultivator. During the treasure hunt, he was the only one who passed through the heaven-patching divine palm. Luchan turned around and saw Wu Wang turn around. Oh. Wu Wang looked at Luchan with a smile that was not a smile. Today's luck is not bad. Such a fat piece of meat actually delivered itself to your door? Chapter 817. 7-star wild cultivator. That's right, it's you. The girl confirmed Luchan's identity once again. In the entire 5th heavenly layer, Luchan was probably the only 7-star cultivator who was still a wild man. Luchan never imagined that he would be recognized just as he was about to leave. The girl was probably one of the members of the Dongyu imperial family's team during the treasure hunt. Coincidentally, she saw through Luchan's identity. I didn't expect you to have the guts to come to the royal city. The martial king couldn't believe it. He sneered and turned around. I heard you were very arrogant during the treasure hunt. You even dared to talk back to old Qin. TSK, TSK, TSK. Now it seems that you're not arrogant, but stupid. The Martial King had reason to doubt Lu Chen's intelligence when he knew that there were people in the royal city who could recognize him. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He glanced at the girl. Speaking of which, according to her identity, she should be called Princess or something. Miss, why do you have to do this? Lu Chen shook his head. Don't even think about running. Everyone knows that you have Nuwa's treasure. Hand it over or I'll kill you. The girl looked lively, but she was very fierce. Every time she opened her mouth, she would kill. It probably had something to do with her identity. Lu Chen also knew that it was too late to say anything now. He had been seen in the royal city, and by a martial king at that. It wouldn't be easy for him to leave the Dongyu imperial city today. The martial king's subordinates quickly surrounded Lu Chen. They stared at him, waiting for the martial king's order. The shop assistant who went back to call the shopkeeper hurried to the front hall with an old man. When he saw the situation, he hurriedly ran over. Martial King, did that person offend you? After all, the old man was the boss here. He would feel the most heartache if someone attacked here. The shop assistant looked back and saw that the group of Martial King Manor experts were surrounding the kid from before. He was suspicious. How did that kid offend the Martial King Manor's people? However, he didn't need to know the reason. The current situation was very clear. The Martial Imperial Manor was going to make a move. The shop assistant's mind raced. If he could take down this person, then he would be able to protect his shop and the shopkeeper would definitely look at him in a new light. Secondly, the Martial Imperial Manor's experts wouldn't even need to make a move, and the Martial Imperial Manor would have a good impression of him. That brat was only a 7-star cultivator. It would be easy for him, a 5-star cultivator, to take him down. Moreover, with his strength, he had the ability to fight those above his level. It was a good opportunity for him to display his strength in front of the various powerhouses. Who knows, he might be able to gain someone's appreciation. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was a good thing with little capital and huge profits. After making up his mind, the clerk suddenly turned around and pounced at Lu Chen, who was standing at the entrance. I've always found you an eyesore. You dared to provoke the Martial Imperial Manor. Today, I'll teach you a good lesson on behalf of the Martial Imperial Manor's elders. Blink ambush. Wild dog, looks like I'll kill you. Lu Chen was also shocked. Was this employee crazy? He doesn't even know that I participated in the treasure hunt. Why is he, a great cultivator, taking the lead when the elders are fighting? He's probably eager to perform meritorious deeds. For the sake of fame, he's blinded by greed. Seeing that my level is low, it's understandable that he wants to snatch the credit. Forget it. If it were any other employee, Lu Chen might have shown mercy, but it just had to be this guy. You find me an eyesore? I find you an eyesore. You're just a snob. Lu Chen snorted coldly and grabbed with one hand. I'm all ears. That person was originally charging at Lu Chen. Who would have thought that the other party wouldn't dodge? Instead, he raised his hand and his speed suddenly increased. Even he himself was shocked. In an instant, he was already in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen grabbed his neck with one hand and lifted him up. Just now, you said that once we leave the store, you'll beat me to death? Lu Chen sneered. Sorry to tell you, but in my eyes you're not even comparable to a dog. The pitch-black muzzle pressed against that person's forehead. You don't be arrogant. Soul and body as one. That person entered the state of soul and body as one. He pressed down on Lu Chen's wrist and was about to hit back. Soul and body as one can't save you. Lu Chen's eyes were cold. If I fall into your hands, I don't know how I'll be killed. So don't blame me for taking your dog life. Godly demon symbiosis. With a boom, a strong spiritual energy erupted from Lu Chen's body. His entire body grew to more than 185 meters tall. His black hair was dyed with frost and turned white. His ordinary appearance instantly changed into a peerless face with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had a handsome face, long white hair, and a pair of calm and melancholy eyes. If it weren't for the pair of furry fox ears on top of Lu Chen's head, he would definitely be a rare handsome man. The princess standing beside Lu Chen was at the age where she was experiencing her first awakening of love. She was careless and her eyes fell for him. During the treasure-seizing assembly, she wasn't strong enough and could only mix in with the group. From afar, she watched Lu Chen pass through the spiritual energy wall alone. His back was facing her, so she couldn't see his face clearly. But now that she was standing so close to Lu Chen, she was shocked to find out. This man was too handsome. Oh my God, so handsome. Lu Chen's gaze swept over to the princess and shook his head helplessly. Sigh, this world was indeed a world that looked at appearance. Were all women so superficial? In the next second, Lu Chen activated the spiritual energy space cannon. However, he also combined it with the triple door. Triple door. Spiritual energy space cannon. The spiritual energy space cannon was already difficult to lock onto. With the help of the triple door, it was even harder to dodge. The 5 shots hit the shop assistant without any accident. Lu Chen didn't even activate the weapon modification of the ferocious tiger descends the mountain and the triple barrel shot. He only fired 5 consecutive shots, and a series of spiritual energy space cannon blasted the shop assistant. Boom, 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 boom. The shop assistant definitely didn't expect this 7-star wild cultivator to be so strong. He was using the soul body unification technique to attack the main body. Moreover, he was a 5-star great cultivator and a 7-star great cultivator. Victory was in his hands. It didn't matter even if he was hit a few times. However, when the first spiritual energy space cannon blasted his body, the fierce attack made his mind go blank for a moment. This damage was caused by the main body of a 7-star great cultivator? If it was calculated using the combat value of a level 4, the current power of Lu Chen's spiritual energy space cannon was about 35 million damage without a critical hit. Even if there wasn't a critical hit, 5 shots would cause 160 million damage. However, with Lu Chen's bloodline level, it was impossible for him not to cause a critical hit. 5 shots of spiritual energy space cannon blasted out 500 million damage. A mere great cultivator's war soul was directly killed. And that person's physical body was also beaten to a state of near death. The shop assistant had already smashed through the wall of the shop. The ground beneath him was blasted into a huge pit that was 20 to 30 meters deep. He was lying in the deep pit. After the war soul died, he was forced out of the soul body unification technique state. He struggled to open his eyes and looked at the man from afar. No, impossible. This is impossible. He hasn't activated the soul body unification technique. He's just a 7-star wild cultivator. Before he could finish speaking, he had already breathed his last. Chapter 8:18. Lu Chen had killed a soul body fusion cultivator on the spot. The surrounding experts couldn't help but frown. Is this guy really a 7-star cultivator? He didn't activate soul body fusion, which means he attacked with his real body. Occasionally, some people would suppress their cultivation level to hide their strength. However, cultivation levels were based on spiritual power values. As long as one's spiritual power reached a certain level, they would definitely level up. On the other hand, spiritual power also determined the upper limit of the 3 attributes. Therefore, suppressing one's level could only hide a limited amount of strength. Lu Chen was a realm lower than that person. Yet he had killed his soul body fusion cultivator with his real body. The gap between them was simply unbelievable. Even the monarch cultivators couldn't help but frown. King Wu stood in the distance and narrowed his eyes. He killed a 5-star cultivator so easily. His strength is too exaggerated. So he must have obtained Nuwa's supreme treasure. For Azuras, you must take him down. King Wu shouted. Kid, Nuwa's supreme treasure isn't something someone like you can have. Lu Chen was speechless. His strength had always been like this, and it had little to do with Nuwa's supreme treasure. The primordial divine blood that Nuwa had given him was only one of the conditions for activating the ancient bloodline. Currently, the ancient bloodline hadn't even taken shape yet. It could only increase his attributes by 10%, which was completely negligible. The 4 Azuras were the 4 monarch cultivators under King Wu. They quickly stood in 4 directions around Lu Chen to prevent him from escaping. Kid, your strength is not bad. You can kill a soul-body fusion cultivator with your real body. Unfortunately, you met us. Fortunately, you're only a 7-star cultivator now. If we wait for you to grow, with your ability to surpass levels, we may not be able to subdue you when you reach 7-star Earth cultivation. It's not easy to have such strength at such a young age. Unfortunately, too many geniuses have died at the hands of me, evil Martial Azura. You're not the first. Lu Chen looked at the evil Martial Azura indifferently. If you insist on fighting, I can guarantee that you won't have the chance in the future. The evil Martial Azura snorted coldly. Don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you have some strength. This is King City. You won't be able to escape even if you have wings. The shop was too small. As Lu Chen walked out, the other 4 followed closely behind, surrounding Lu Chen at all times. The princess quickly walked to her father's side. The king of Wu glanced at his daughter. The way this girl looked at Solipsistic was obviously not right. This person has a precious treasure on him. I can't let him live. The princess nodded. Although that guy was indeed very handsome and made her heart flutter, in front of Nuwa's most precious treasure, being handsome was not enough to make a living. Father, I don't know what you're talking about. It's your business how you want to deal with it. King Wu smiled faintly. His daughter knew what was important and what was not. The 4 great Azuras under the Martial King were Evil Martial, Buddhist Martial, Divine Martial, and Sky Martial. They were all at the Martial Emperor realm. With these 4 taking action, it should not be difficult to take down the Solipsistic. The key was time. This brat had Nuwa's most precious treasure on him. Now that he had appeared in the royal city, it would not be long before the other nobles, and even that person from the Tian family arrived. He could naturally protect the treasure in his hands. However, if he could not take it by the time the others arrived, then it would be hard to say. Thinking of this, the Martial King shouted, "Evil Martial, don't talk nonsense with him. Hurry up and kill him, and take the treasure." Seeing the people from the Martial Imperial Manor making a move, the huge market quickly packed up the stalls and closed the doors. Countless people were watching the battle here. Who is that guy? He actually attracted the 4 great Azuras of the Martial Imperial Manor to attack at the same time. Did you see that just now? That brat killed a 5-star great cultivator, without using soul body as one. His strength should also be at the Martial Emperor realm. Only at the Martial Emperor realm can the body of an expert defeat soul body as one. What Martial Emperor realm? Didn't you see his badge? He's a 7-star great cultivator. This is unbelievable. No matter how strong he is, what kind of people are the 4 great Azuras? I'm afraid their ranking in the 5th heaven will not exceed 10,000. Being in the top 10,000 among hundreds of millions of people was already a top existence. I'm afraid you guys don't know that the most frightening thing about the 4 great Azuras is not their individual strength, but their teamwork. Even a top expert would have a headache if they saw the teamwork of these fellow disciples. An insider said. His words shocked the others even more. The 4 great Azuras were actually fellow disciples. 4 super experts in the top 10,000. When they joined forces, their strength was simply unimaginable. At this moment, the 4 great Azuras on the field activated soul body as one at the same time. The 4 great Azuras' bodies emitted mists of purple, black, red and green. Their auras suddenly changed. Combined domain, Azura Purgatory Field. Lu Chen frowned slightly. These 4 people's domains were a bit special. The Azura Purgatory Field actually had 4 attributes. After activating it together, no matter who was in the domain, they could enjoy the buffs of the other 3 domains. In other words, the domain's buffs were increased by 4 times. At the same time, Lu Chen was affected by a lot of negative statuses. Attack speed, movement speed decrease, attack, HP decrease, defense decrease, skill cooldown increase, damage over time. Just the negative statuses alone, Lu Chen was stacked more than 20 times. The evil Martial Azura crossed his arms and pulled out 2 purple daggers. It's the King of Hell's dagger. Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. It's been a long time since I've seen a dagger out of its sheath. That kid is dead for sure. The King of Hell's dagger is ranked 18th in the Eastern Peak country's divine weapon ranking. It's highly poisonous, and attacks have bleeding, serious injury, and poisoning effects. As long as you're hit, just the bleeding and poisoning effects alone can take your life in a short 10 seconds. It's that strong. Nonsense. Why else would it be called the King of Hell's dagger? If the King of Hell wants you to die at midnight, no one will let you live until midnight. The four great Asura's weapons were each more ridiculous than the last. Evil Marshal took out the King of Hell's dagger, while Buddhist Marshal took out a Buddhist scripture. This Buddhist scripture wasn't a skill scroll, but a Buddhist seal weapon. Buddhist seals didn't need weapons to attack, but the Dharma Golden Scripture could strengthen them. The Dharma Golden Scripture, ranked 21st in the Eastern Peak Divine Weapon Ranking. My God, this is the weapon of Buddhist seals' dreams. Divine Marshal's Divine Marshal Sky Raising Spear, ranked 26th. It's unstoppable, the overlord of weapons. No way, the Divine Marshal Azura took out a weapon too. That's the Clear Sky Amber Sword Set. There are 14 of them in total, the only one in the entire server, ranked 10th in the Eastern Peak Divine Weapon Ranking. I didn't think I'd see this set of divine weapons. The four great divine weapons were unsheathed at the same time, and the weapons of the surrounding low-level players all trembled, as if they were inferior in front of a king. None of the divine weapons in the four great Asura's hands were ordinary items. Speaking of which, these brothers were truly outstanding. Kid, aren't you very strong? In front of the four of us, I'm afraid you don't even have the confidence to take out your weapon. Evil Marshal looked at Lu Chen arrogantly. Lu Chen's expression was calm as he raised one hand. Wuji, someone said you didn't dare to show your face. Do you think you should take back your face? Chapter 819. Lu Chen could feel the resentment of the infinite celestial and demon sword. Lu Chen smiled. All right, I know you're hungry. Come on out. As Lu Chen slowly raised his hand, a black and white longsword slowly appeared inch by inch from void space. If the King of Hell's dagger, Bodhidharma's Golden Sutra, Divine Martial Sky Raising Spear, and Clear Sky Amber Sword were the kings of weapons, then this black and white sword that had never appeared in any of the god weapon lists was the king of weapons. One side of the infinite celestial and demon sword was black, while the other side was silver. Two different kinds of fog surrounded the sword. The black and white fog floated, but the two were clearly separated. When this unknown longsword stood in front of Lu Chen, the four great divine weapons emitted a buzzing sound almost at the same time, as if they were facing a great enemy. Even Azura C's wrist was trembling. The four of them looked at the sword in shock, their eyes filled with disbelief. What kind of weapon is that? I've never seen it before. Azura Tianwu's Clear Sky Amber Sword had a total of 14 swords, each of which was extremely powerful. However, when this sword appeared, the 13 sub-swords involuntarily moved closer to the main sword. Azura Tianwu frowned. He had never seen the Amber Sword react like this before. What a powerful aura. Even the Clear Sky Amber Sword reacted like it's facing a great enemy. It's involuntarily retreating to defend. King Wu's expression turned serious. He had clearly felt his own weapon resonating with the sword. He would only use his weapon when fighting against powerful demonic beasts. Other than a few of his trusted aides, very few people had seen it before. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had retired after accomplishing something. However, just now the Heaven Battling Tower had reacted so strongly. Although the Heaven Battling Tower was not a god weapon, and did not have a weapon spirit, it had been with him for many years. He could feel the excitement of the Heaven Battling Tower, as if it had met a powerful opponent. That kid's weapon is not inferior to my Heaven Battling Tower. It might even be better. King Wu squinted his eyes. The Countess beside Lone Tyrant sucked in a breath of cold air. Lone Tyrant's weapon was actually this powerful? Father, your Heaven Battling Tower is in the top 3, but even the top 2 weapons would only be on par with the Heaven Battling Tower. If that black and white longsword is stronger than the Heaven Battling Tower, then wouldn't it be? King Wu stared fixedly at the white-haired man. It seems that even if he doesn't have Nuwa's supreme treasure on him, it's definitely not a loss for him to keep this sword. Lu Chen looked at the limitless sword and smiled. This guy seemed to be a little angry today. The pressure he was emitting was stronger than usual. It seemed that he was angered by the evil martial Azura's words. All right, Wuji, I'll help you get back at him. Lu Chen raised his head and looked at the 4 Azuras who were glaring at him. Finally, his gaze fell on King Wu, who was not far away. Then Lu Chen said indifferently, "You can live for another 5 seconds." As soon as these words came out, the surroundings almost exploded. What did he say? He just said to the 4 Azuras and King Wu that they can only live for 5 seconds? Damn, I've never heard such arrogant words in my life. The 4 Azuras and King Wu are all Emperor-level cultivators. He wants to kill them in seconds? Dream on. He's arrogant just because he has a powerful weapon? Besides, King Wu doesn't even plan to make a move now. How can he kill them in 5 seconds? King Wu was also shocked. Before he could refute, Lu Chen had already made his move. Chaos Element Conversion. Lu Chen grabbed the sword's hilt with one hand. In an instant, the black and white fog completely merged and turned into chaos. Gods and demons coexisted. There was no difference between gods and demons. Black and white were 2 colors, so why should they be so distinct? At this time, all the negative states on Lu Chen's body were cleared. Chaos spiritual pills were not affected by other domains. Battle God Possession. Demon Transformation. Death Trap. Dragon Blood Boiling. 3 Lives Reincarnation. When facing an expert, Lu Chen's opening moves had become standard. He narrowed his eyes slightly, allowing his white hair to billow in the surging spiritual energy. His eyes were so cold that it made people's hearts turn cold. Do you really want me to make the first move? You have 4 seconds left. The current Lu Chen and the person who had just entered the Beast Pill store were like 2 different people. You 4, don't underestimate him. After all, he is the only one who can get close to Nuwa's remnant soul. King Wu spoke from behind. Lions and tigers use all their strength to catch a rabbit. You can't be careless. However, what surprised everyone was that King Wu did not look down on Lu Chen this time. Instead, the 4 Azuras took him seriously. The 4 Azuras had followed King Wu for many years and firmly believed in his judgment. At this time, they did not care about the fact that he was a 7-star wild cultivator. They did not enter the soul-body unification state. Their gazes turned serious. Solipsistic, you're really arrogant. How dare you be disrespectful to King Wu? I will take your head in 5 seconds. 2-star Poison Master Astral Form. Evil Marshal was the first to activate the astral form technique. The other 3 also entered the astral form state. King Wu nodded in satisfaction. Snatching the treasure from millions of people, killing a 5-star great cultivator without entering the soul-body unification state, and holding a divine weapon. This solipsistic was indeed something. Even though King Wu's bloodline rarely fought with others, they often hunted high-level demonic beasts. They had even hunted a 7-transformation demonic beast before. Even 8 tails was only 8 transformation. It was clear that their strength was not to be underestimated. In many battles, King Wu and the 4 Azuras had experienced hundreds of battles. When they were serious, their battle strength would soar. Medicine Master Astral Form, Imperial Sword Astral Form, Martial Path Astral Form, and Buddhist Seal Astral Form. These 4 astral forms are not easy to deal with. Even if they don't attack, you won't be able to touch them. I want to see how you solipsistic will kill my martial imperial manners generals in 5 seconds. King Wu glared at solipsistic. Facing King Wu's question, Lu Chen didn't answer. 3 seconds left. He slowly lowered his head and took a deep breath. He didn't expect to be able to use the technique he just learned so soon. Interesting, even he was a little excited. In fact, when Lu Chen said that he could kill 5 people in 5 seconds, he was hoping that they would use the astral form. If they didn't use the astral form, how could they display the dominance of the divine demon astral form? Divine demon, astral form. With a boom, the spirit energy around Lu Chen exploded. Immediately after, Lu Chen's eyes turned blood red. His imposing body suddenly became blurry. Even though he didn't move at all, in the eyes of others, he looked like an unstable image. Divine demon astral form? What kind of astral form is that? Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. I've never heard of this astral form. Look at his figure. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? I can't lock on to him. His astral form didn't fuse with any skills or moves, but people can't see it clearly? Chapter 820. Godly Demon Astral Body. Attack speed, movement speed, skill release speed increased by 400%. 5 senses increased by 400%, and the user cannot be targeted by any skills. At this moment, Wuxia clearly felt that the world in his eyes had changed. The fine dust in the wind seemed to have slowed down several times, and the people around him seemed to have entered slow motion. Every frown and smile on their faces, and every movement of their bodies, was several times slower. Spiritual energy. The surrounding spiritual energy was more clearly perceived. The astral bodies of the four Asuras were no longer undetectable. Heavenly Eye. Wuxia activated his Heavenly Eye at the same time. This time, the four Asuras had nowhere to hide. After being observed by him, the astral bodies of the four Asuras underwent drastic changes. Originally, their astral bodies were fused with the surrounding spiritual energy and were operating smoothly, but suddenly, the spiritual energy around them became restless. Was this the perception ability of the godly demon astral body? Even Wuxia was shocked. As for the four Asuras, just as the solipsistic astral body entered, they suddenly felt a strong repulsive force. The surrounding spiritual energy was forcing them out of their astral bodies. A moment later, the four of them appeared at the same time and looked at each other in disbelief. What's going on? Why did my Imperial Sword astral body fail? This situation has never happened before. Even when we encountered the 7 magical beast generals, they were so powerful, but they couldn't force us out of our astral bodies. Wuxia understood one thing at this moment. Sometimes, when the astral body was attacked, it would be forced out of its astral body. The root cause was that the user's fusion with the surrounding spiritual energy was disrupted. The godly demon astral body used this method to directly disrupt the surrounding spiritual energy, causing the opponent to be unable to enter the astral body state. Although the principle was simple, just by locking onto the opponent, it could directly disrupt the surrounding spiritual energy for one's own use. This in itself was the most terrifying effect. 2 more seconds. Wuxia suddenly spoke very quickly. After all, no matter what he did now, he would be 4 times faster than others. He didn't know if the others understood. Even if they didn't, it didn't matter because Wuxia had already made his move. Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. The current Sacred Lotus Sword Heart was no longer just 1080 swords. 2160 swords. Under the effects of the godly devil astral body, Wuxia's attacks were even faster than before, to the point where they could not be seen clearly. The sword move was executed in a single breath. In a single second, 2000 sword chis had appeared before the 4 of them in the blink of an eye. This speed had already surpassed the reaction time of humans, so much so that the 4 martial emperors were unable to dodge in time. So fast. Sword Light Buddha Protection. Spiritual Energy Shield. The 4 of them activated their shields. However, Wuxia simply did not need to continue watching. He had already determined that these 4 people could not possibly block the Saint Sword Lotus Heart. Rapid movement. In the next moment his figure moved. Before the first wave of sword chi even hit the 4 great Asuras, he was already standing in front of King Wu. King Wu couldn't believe his eyes. This guy's speed was unimaginably terrifying. It was faster than the sword chi. No, it was faster than the eyes. Relying on his many years of battle experience, King Wu subconsciously activated Soul Body as one. However, just as he activated Soul Body as one, a cold sword had already touched his throat. Wuxia had one hand behind his back and the godly devil limitless sword in his right hand. The tip of the sword was pressed against King Wu's throat. Suddenly, there was the sound of a large amount of spiritual energy exploding behind him. Facing the sacred lotus sword heart, the 4 great Asuras were already on the verge of death. Each of them had to face more than 500 swords. What skill is this? Why is the damage so high? My shield. When the shield shattered, the next fierce attack had just begun. The remaining few hundred swords were like wild beasts charging towards the 4 great Asuras. What surprised Lu Chen was that based on the rate of their war soul's HP loss, their war soul's HP should be around 1.8 or 1.9 billion. One had to know that Lu Chen's physique of 2 million plus various buffs only had a little more than 100 million HP. How could these people's war souls have so much HP? Lu Chen was suspicious. However, Lu Chen quickly remembered. The key was the combined domain, Infernal Azura Field. The 4 domains seemed to have the effect of increasing one's HP. When the 4 effects were stacked, it became extremely terrifying. Each domain increased one's HP by 1-fold. 4 domains meant 16 times. Since their main bodies could cultivate to the Earth cultivation realm, it meant that they had been in the 5th heavenly layer for several decades, or even longer. The fortuitous opportunities in the 5th heavenly layer would not be lesser than any other heavenly layer. On the contrary, the fortuitous opportunities in the 5th heavenly layer were more and more terrifying. These people were the 4 great Asuras of the mighty god Martial Imperial Mansion. They had endless resources and opportunities at their fingertips. After a long period of accumulation, it was understandable that their war souls were stronger than others. In addition to the Infernal Azura Field's perverse bonus, it created such a terrifying amount of HP. However, against the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart, 500 million HP was nothing. Moreover, each of them had to face several hundred swords. Without a war soul with 10 billion HP, it was impossible to resist. Ah! Several screams came from behind. The 4 great Asuras were killed by the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. In the last second, Lu Chen's sword stopped at King Wu's throat. You have 1 more second. Lu Chen looked coldly at King Wu. At this time, other than shock, there was no other reaction in King Wu's eyes. Solipsistic said that he had 5 seconds, but in reality, it was not even 3 seconds. When the 4 great Asuras were killed, Huang Xiaolong had already taken control of his own life and death. You, how can you be so fast? Your astral body, what exactly is? King Wu stuttered in fear. Don't kill my father. The princess was crying at the side. Lu Chen's gaze swept over the princess, who was crying like a person. But in her heart, she did not dare to hope that the solipsistic would be merciful. The scene of how the shop assistant died was still vivid in her mind. The solipsistic did not give her a chance at all. That was just a passerby who had no enmity with him. Yet he could be so ruthless. What's more, her father and the others wanted to snatch the solipsistic's treasures. How could he be merciful? He had already said that he would kill the 5 of them. If he really stopped, wouldn't he be going back on his words? The scene suddenly became terrifyingly quiet. The people did not have time to marvel at the solipsistic's terrifying strength. Now, everyone's eyes were fixed on the infinite divinity and demon sword. Would he stab down with this sword? However, at the last second Lu Chen put down his sword. Lu Chen shook his head. Although you want to kill me and steal my treasures, you are still considered honorable. Consider it as me going back on my words. I won't kill you today. King Wu could not believe his ears. This guy actually did not attack. Lu Chen also did as he said. He put down his sword, turned around, and walked out of the trading market. Wait. You really won't kill us? If you didn't have the strength, perhaps we would have already killed you, and your treasures would have been taken away by us. You're just going to leave like this? Perhaps for King Wu, living like this was actually a disgrace. Lu Chen looked back at King Wu in astonishment, and could not help but snort. You really said what I wanted to say. If it was any other time, I would have already killed you. But now, Lu Chen sighed. You have the strength to hunt 7th rank magical beasts. Perhaps you will be of some use in the future. King Wu was completely confused. He did not understand what the solipsistic meant. The reason why he survived was because he hunted 7th rank magical beasts? Useful in the future? What did he mean? Alright, tell your daughter to stop crying. Also, quickly drag your 4 subordinates back to save them. Remember, don't provoke rogue cultivators in the future. After saying that, Lu Chen disappeared in a flash. There were thousands of people around, but none of them could catch up with his figure. Chapter 821. Not long after Lu Chen left, a large number of experts arrived and saw the mess. King Wu was scared out of his wits. No one knew if the 4 Azuras were dead or alive. The nobles had just arrived, but they had to face such a shocking result. What's going on? How could the 4 Azuras? A beauty in a white silk robe flashed and landed in the field. In terms of appearance, there was a hint of heroic spirit between her brows, but it didn't hide her devastatingly beautiful face. She had both the gentleness of a woman and the valiance of a warrior. Between her actions, there was a hint of the majesty of a ruler. When this person appeared, the nobles who arrived all bowed, but she waved her hand, indicating that they didn't need to do so. She walked in front of King Wu and looked strangely at the silent King Wu. This guy actually didn't greet her when he saw her? It was her business whether or not others had to greet her, but it was the etiquette of a subject. Ahem. She coughed slightly, reminding King Wu not to forget the etiquette. King Wu recovered from his shock. Seeing the person in front of him, he quickly bowed. Greetings, Your Majesty. If Lu Chen was here, he would probably be shocked. The ruler of the Eastern Peak country was actually a woman? However, it wasn't impossible. Jiutian didn't care about gender, only strength was respected. The constitution of a woman was slightly weaker than a man, but it was only in the early stage. In terms of numbers, there was only a difference of a few points. Now that she had leveled up, the difference could be ignored. In this way, there was almost no difference between men and women. If a woman was talented, there was no reason for her to lose to a man. It was only natural that a woman would be the ruler of the Eastern Peak country. The person who came was the current ruler of the Eastern Peak country, Kong Luoyao, known as the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor frowned and shook her head. She rarely saw King Wu so distracted. Looking at the scene, the 4 Azuras were dying. It was obvious that the martial imperial manor had been defeated. She was different from others. Someone had already reported to her that the solipsistic had appeared in the imperial city, so she could roughly guess what had happened. Get up. That solipsistic is so strong? The martial king was a bit absent-minded. His eyes didn't meet hers as he said blankly, yes, he's very strong. He didn't use soul body as one, but he still insta-killed the 4 Azuras. In 3 seconds, he killed 4 people and captured me. I didn't even have time to react. The Jade Emperor's expression did not change. You've underestimated him. This is not your style. You're right, said the Jade Emperor. I didn't underestimate them. After fighting demonic beasts for a long time, everyone in the martial imperial manor knows that they can't underestimate their opponents in a battle of life and death. The 4 great Azuras opened their celestial bodies, but after that person opened his celestial body, he directly caused Evil Marshal and the others to lose their celestial bodies. Oh, there was actually such a thing? What celestial body does he have? Jade Emperor asked. I've never heard of his astral body before. It's the godly devil astral body. He didn't rely on any skills and used it directly. After using it, not only did the 4 Azura celestial body lose its effect, but his speed also increased greatly. He was so fast that we couldn't even lock onto his figure. Within 3 seconds, he killed the 4 Azuras and captured me. The Jade Emperor narrowed her eyes. He defeated 5 great Emperor cultivators in 3 seconds. That's right. His strength is not below yours. The Jade Emperor nodded. Perhaps he obtained Nuwa's supreme treasure and increased his strength. However, the martial imperial manor wanted to kill and steal the treasure. Since he won, why didn't he kill all of you? I don't know. But in the end, he said that the martial imperial manor often hunted demonic beasts and that it might be useful in the future, so he let us go. I guess he valued our experience in fighting demonic beasts. However, this is only my guess. I lost because I didn't understand what he meant. The Jade Emperor's brows furrowed even tighter. What was this solipsistic man trying to do? During this period of time, the Eastern Peak Nation and even the entire Fifth Heaven seemed to be in turmoil. Nuwa's supreme treasure, the attack on the spirit veins, and the appearance of a powerful expert. All these signs seemed to be confirming the prophecy of the imperial oracle. Natural phenomena and tribulations are coming, and fortune and misfortune will come at random. The path of the stars is full of confusion and no way out. The Jade Emperor murmured, repeating the prophecy of the imperial oracle. Interestingly, the last sentence of the prophecy gave people a feeling of ambiguity. Did it mean that there was no way out or a chance of survival? It was hard to tell. Has that extremely ominous prophecy started to come true one by one? The Jade Emperor suddenly looked up at the Martial King and asked anxiously, "Where did that man go?" The Martial King didn't know what to do. "I don't know. He was too fast. I didn't have time to activate my divine eyes." The Jade Emperor looked back at the city gate. She knew that the solipsistic man was at the Cultivation Master realm. It was very likely that he went back the way he came, which meant that he might have left from the west gate. You know about the divination of the gods. That man is in the middle of the prophecy. Perhaps he is related to the divination. I will leave for a while. You and King Wen will take care of the court. The Jade Emperor's figure flashed and disappeared. The Martial King looked ahead blankly. Is the Jade Emperor going to take action personally? She hasn't taken action personally for more than 100 years. Even she is going to take action. The Martial King frowned. The fifth layer of heaven is really going to change. Lu Chen had already left King City. He was now walking on the official road towards the west. It was too boring to travel alone. Lu Chen brought along Rhubarb, Furry Little Green and Xiaomin. With more companions he wouldn't feel so lonely. "Boss, did I see wrongly? You didn't kill the Martial King and the others?" Xiaomin jumped up and down. It was rare for her to come out, so she was naturally the happiest. Lu Yi said with a smile, "I guess, Boss thinks that if the Devil Beast Sovereign leads the Devil Beast army to sweep through the fifth layer of heaven again, these experts might be of some use. But they don't look like good people," Xiaomin said with a little unconvinced. Lu Chen smiled faintly. "Is the ice god a good person?" Xiaomin was stunned. When the ice god died, hundreds of thousands of people were buried with him. At least he wasn't a benevolent ruler. The strength of the Devil Beast Sovereign is really hard for me to imagine. After this rebirth, it has been accumulating strength in secret. When it reaches adulthood, it will be very terrifying. The words that the Eight Tails said before it died, "I don't think it's that simple." Lu Chen said, "If the Devil Beast Sovereign invades again, even if I can deal with the Devil Beast Sovereign, what about the other Devil Beasts? The strength of the seventh or eighth transformation is very terrifying for ordinary people. The Martial King and the others make money by hunting Devil Beasts. They may have more experience than ordinary experts. When the Devil Beast Sovereign invades, even if he is greedy and unscrupulous, he is still a prince. When the time comes, they are likely to become the backbone of the defense of the Dongyu country. If sparing their lives can save tens of thousands or even more civilians, then what's the harm in letting them go?" After Lu Chen's explanation, Xiaomin understood Lu Chen's intention. It turns out that Boss is still thinking about those civilians. "Boss, why did you release such a terrible thing as soon as you came to the fifth layer of heaven?" Lu Chen said helplessly. "I also didn't want to. This matter is not my fault, it's Rhubarb's." Rhubarb looked up at Lu Chen. "Woof woof woof. Didn't you ask me to find the treasure? Can't I find the spirit vein?" The little furball hugged Rhubarb's neck and squeaked to help Rhubarb. Lu Chen looked at the two little guys with a smile. "When did the relationship between the two of you become so good? Rhubarb, don't forget that the little furball still wants to eat your 9 revolutions golden crow mirror." Lu Yi shook her head and looked at these guys. "Your relationship is so complicated." Chapter 822. Lu Chen's celestial devil astral body took 15 days to recover. With such a big thing happening in King City, it was better for him to leave as soon as possible. According to the route, Lu Chen planned his itinerary. This way, I can pass through 7 cities and resupply on the way. I can also take on some commission missions to earn some cash coupons. Speaking of cash coupons, Lu Chen had a headache. It was indeed inconvenient to be an unaffiliated cultivator. There was no fixed income for cash coupons. The surroundings of King City were not safe, so Lu Chen sped up. 2 days later, Lu Chen arrived at the first transit city and took on the task of escorting a caravan. The reward was not high. The caravan found a total of 5 cultivators. After escorting them to the nearest city, each person would be given 300 cash coupons. It was not much, but the price of goods in the Dongyu nation was indeed tight. 3 spirit vein mines had been destroyed and stopped mining, causing the cash coupons to be extremely scarce. 3 days later, the escort mission was completed. Lu Chen took on another escort mission in the same city and went to the next city. 10 days later, Lu Chen arrived at Jinnan City. His next stop was Snow Mountain City. By the way, Shuer and Granduncle are near Snow Mountain City. I don't know if I will have a chance to meet them after leaving Dongyu Nation. I should go and see them. This time, Lu Chen gave up on accepting missions and went to the Snow Mountain region alone. The further northwest he went, the colder the weather became. The previous snow mountain had been destroyed, and the road was impassable. However, the surrounding mountains were still covered in snow all year round. When he entered the Snow Mountain region, it was a field of white snow. After a day's journey, Lu Chen saw that it was getting late. He set up a bonfire under a rock and prepared to camp. Little Green and Xiaomin were ghost pets after all. When Lu Chen did not use his fighting soul, they could only come out for a short while. Only Furball and Rhubarb had their own bodies and could accompany Lu Chen all the time. These 2 guys were playing around in the snow. Lu Chen was too lazy to care about them. He was busy cooking dinner. Lu Chen and Rhubarb were probably tired of eating grilled fish every day. In the previous city, Lu Chen had also bought some meat. At this time, he took out a snow rabbit, processed it, and skewered it on a branch to barbecue. Barbecue without seasoning was soulless. Lu Chen naturally wouldn't treat himself unfairly. Oil, cumin, chili, and some salt. I feel that if I go back and open a barbecue restaurant, even Old Sue's barbecue restaurant won't have as good a business as mine. Lu Chen took a deep breath, and a rich aroma wafted into his nose. Rhubarb was no longer playing around with Furball. It stood beside Lu Chen and stared at the barbecue with eager eyes. It was so anxious that it was about to cry. Don't worry, the heat isn't right yet. Let's barbecue for a while more so that the flavor will enter. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Take a bite. TSK, that taste. Lu Chen said as he swallowed his saliva. Oh, I still have some Chunliang wine. At this moment, Big Yellow suddenly realized something and barked as it looked at the night sky in the distance. Lu Chen raised his head and saw a woman in white walking over. It's so late at night. Where did such a beauty come from in the wilderness? Lu Chen suddenly frowned. Of course, in the Jiotian wilderness, Lu Chen instinctively increased his vigilance when meeting strangers. The woman walked over and her gaze stopped on Lu Chen for a few seconds. No one knew what she was thinking. Miss you. Lu Chen found that this woman had a badge on her chest, but it was covered with a layer of fog. It seemed to be the effect of some kind of rune, which made him unable to see the other party's cultivation level. Miss, is there something you need? The woman's slightly vigilant gaze seemed to relax. What did you call me? Lu Chen was a little confused. Was it wrong for him to call her Miss? What else should he call her? You didn't tell me your name. If I don't call you Miss, you didn't tell me your name. That person frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, it seemed to make sense. Interesting. Hey, what level of cooking master are you? The woman asked. 9 stars. What's wrong? Nothing. The rabbit meat you roasted seems to be very fragrant. It's different from the other 9-star cooking masters I know. The woman's gaze finally moved away from Lu Chen and fell on the roasted meat. Oh, I added some barbecue seasonings from my hometown. It's different from the usual recipes. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the other party was attracted by his roasted meat. Hey, you can't be thinking about my roasted meat, right? Lu Chen said. Rhubarb can eat at least 2/3 of it. There's no share for you here. The woman looked at the rhubarb dog beside Lu Chen with surprise. He actually warned me in order to leave food for a dog. This guy really has guts. The aroma of the roasted meat had already spread. That tempting smell made people unable to help but swallow their saliva. Speaking of which, I really haven't walked around alone for a long time. Usually, I'll leave the trivial matters to others to do. In order to track this guy, she hadn't eaten a full meal for several days. Coming to the Great Snow Mountain, the temperature plummeted, and people became hungry quickly. In addition, this guy's roasted meat was really tempting. The woman really couldn't help it. Why don't I just rob him? Goo goo goo. The woman's stomach failed to live up to her expectations and growled. After Lu Chen and the woman discovered it at the same time, the atmosphere became a bit awkward. Are you hungry to this extent? Finally, Lu Chen sighed. Forget it. I'm not very hungry. You guys eat. Come on. Lu Chen cut a piece of thigh meat and handed it to the woman. Looking at the rest of the rabbit meat, he gave it all to Rhubarb with a heartache. The woman took the branch and gently took a bite. Suddenly, a strange taste spread on the tip of her tongue. With a bite, the delicious meat filled her taste buds. This kind of satisfying feeling made people forget to leave. In a state of hunger, ordinary food is a delicacy, not to mention such a unique delicacy. The woman widened her eyes and looked at Lu Chen in surprise. Delicious. After saying that, she couldn't wait to take another bite. Lu Chen smiled. Look at you being so impatient. Eat slowly. Rhubarb's side was absolutely sweeping away the food. Seeing this, even the little fur ball was greedy. This guy who didn't like dead things actually forcefully snatched a piece of meat from Rhubarb to taste it. The three guys were eating, one uglier than the other. Lu Chen was really hungry and helplessly took out another fish to roast. Look at your table manners. I originally said I wouldn't eat. However, after the fish was roasted, the woman finished eating the rabbit leg and looked at Lu Chen eagerly. No way, you're still not full? The woman eagerly nodded. I've been hungry for several days. This. Forget it, I'll give it to you. Is that wine you're drinking? The woman was still not satisfied with the roasted fish. Her gaze fell on the wine glass in Lu Chen's hand. At this point, there was no need to say anything more. Lu Chen tactfully handed the wine glass to the woman. Half an hour later, after eating and drinking to their fill, Rhubarb and the little fur ball fell asleep. Lu Chen looked at the woman. You're still not leaving? The woman wiped her mouth, her face slightly red. Her pair of sparkling eyes looked at Lu Chen and her voice was slightly drunk. I'm a little scared in the snow mountain alone. Can I go with you? Chapter 8:23. Lu Chen did not directly agree. He slightly narrowed his eyes, and his gaze fell on the woman's chest. In fact, it fell on her badge. What, are you afraid that I will eat you? Seeing that Lu Chen did not seem to be ready to agree, the woman looked at Lu Chen with a smile. Lu Chen smiled. You don't say. I am a little scared. I have seen so many people, and some people hide their badges, but your method of hiding is different from them. Usually, who would hide their rank? Either they have a special identity, or they are a supermaster. Judging from your method, no matter what your identity is, your strength should not be weak. Lu Chen put away his various spices and said, I think your outfit is not ordinary. In this wilderness, a beautiful woman like you is traveling alone and deliberately hiding your identity. You should not be simple. You are full and have the strength to walk. You should go. I will not keep you. The woman listened to Lu Chen's analysis with interest and did not panic. I didn't expect your mind to be so clear. If I am not clear, I am afraid I would have died long ago. Lu Chen lightly said. Well, even if I hide something from you, but I can guarantee that I am not a bad person. Ouch, my head hurts, the alcohol is coming up. With that, the woman staggered and then directly fell to the ground. He really did not expect that she would use this trick. Lu Chen's face collapsed. Sure enough, it was useless to reason with a woman. In Jiutian, you can also pick up corpses? Lu Chen glanced at the woman lying in the snow. This woman was really beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, and it looked soft and tender in the snow. Should I leave her here? Lu Chen wanted to leave several times, but in the end he gave up. Chunliang wine was a famous good wine in Donghua country. The wine was mellow and went down the throat, but the alcohol was really strong. It was the same as drinking too much, and getting drunk was the same. This woman drank no less than him. He was dizzy, so she should be the same. If she was left here alone, she might freeze to death. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen stood up shakily and dragged the woman onto his animal skin blanket. He covered her with the blanket and added some firewood to the bonfire. Then he took out a spare blanket and leaned against the rock wall to rest. Furball, Rhubarb, stop messing around. It's time to rest. Rhubarb curled up beside Lu Chen and transformed. The little furball burrowed into Lu Chen's clothes and gradually fell asleep. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the sky had already darkened. Lu Chen hurriedly shook his head to clear his head. The fire on the pile of firewood was much smaller, but the woman was still lying there, sleeping soundly. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He stuffed the little fur ball in his arms into Rhubarb's arms and got up to boil water. It didn't take long for Rhubarb to wake up. This guy seemed to have endless energy. When he woke up the little fur ball, and the two went to the side to meditate on the 9 revolutions golden crow mirror. When Lu Chen was done, he glanced at the woman and found that her eyes were open. She was lying on her side with one hand supporting her head, looking at him in a daze. She had been in a high position for many years. Every day, she lived in luxury and was admired by thousands of people. But now, she spent a simple night with this man in the snow. The sky was dim, and the man was busy boiling water, while she was lying in a warm bed. Was this the life of an ordinary person? It was simple and plain, but it had a different flavor. What was more interesting was that the person who spent the night with her was the solipsistic man she had been tracking. The guy who got the treasure and injured the martial king. You're awake? Lu Chen brought some hot water over. Drink some hot water to wake up your head. When the woman was lying on her side, her long hair was scattered. Lu Chen glanced at her and was stunned. This woman lying on the bed like this, it was too easy to let one's imagination run wild. What are you looking at? The woman looked at Lu Chen strangely with a pair of big eyes. It seemed that no one dared to stare at her like this for a long time. But now she didn't want to pursue it. Nothing. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at the fire. The woman smiled and sat up. She held the hot water and drank 2 mouthfuls. Turn around, I'll change my clothes. Ah. I can't wear the same set of clothes every day, right? Lu Chen knew that women liked to buy clothes. After all, he had a sister. But the problem was that this was the 5th layer of heaven. If she wanted to change, she had to change her equipment or clothes. He only had 3 sets of clothes. One of them was a couple set that he hadn't worn yet. As for the other 2 sets, he mostly wore lonely shadow fishing. Occasionally, he would wear wild blood sword god during battle. But this woman seemed to wear 1 set every day. How extravagant was this? However, this was someone else's business after all. Lu Chen didn't ask much and turned around. Tell me when you're done. A soft sound came from behind him. Lu Chen felt very conflicted. This guy was drunk last night, so be it. Now that he was sober, he wouldn't sneak attack him, right? At this moment, Rhubarb ran back. It wasn't afraid of being scolded at all. It stared straight at the woman changing her clothes. With Rhubarb watching, Lu Chen felt relieved. He didn't know if Rhubarb did it on purpose, but the 9 revolutions golden crow mirror fell in front of Lu Chen. For Lu Chen, this mirror was a blurry bronze mirror. Now there was a graceful figure swaying in the mirror. The point was that the woman was really changing her clothes. She took off the spinning shawl, took off the coat and took off the inner lining. Although the mirror was blurry, if you looked carefully, you could still see the perfect figure, the enchanting figure, and the slender thighs. However, the other party seemed to be very fast. It was estimated that she had mastered the skill of changing clothes often. Soon she changed into a light blue dress. Hey, have you seen enough? Unknowingly, the woman had changed her clothes and walked behind Lu Chen. Do you know that peeping at me changing clothes is a capital offense? You're actually holding a mirror and looking at it so brazenly. Believe it or not, I'll dig out your eyes. Lu Chen turned his head and wiped the blood from his nose. Ahem, I didn't see anything. Also, this mirror isn't mine. It's his. Lu Chen pointed at Rhubarb. Rhubarb quickly ran away with the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow mirror. The main culprit absconded. The woman rolled her eyes at Lu Chen. Although what she said just now was quite scary, like digging out one's eyes was a capital offense, but now it seemed that she couldn't find any actual evidence of Lu Chen's crime, so she could only give up. After changing into a blue dress, the woman had a different style. She sat on a stone next to the fire. Her dress fell on the snow, like a blooming blue lotus. I don't know where I'm going now. I see that you're also alone. Why don't we go together? The woman looked at Lu Chen. I'm going to a very far place. You can't always follow me, Lu Chen said. Then I'll just follow you for a while. You can rest assured that I won't give you any trouble, except for cooking. I'm more familiar with the 5th heaven than you are. Chapter 8:24. The woman's last sentence convinced Lu Chen. He had been in the Dongyu nation for a long time, and was somewhat familiar with it. However, he was about to go to the Baisher nation, and he would be unfamiliar with the place. Moreover, this woman was really pleasing to the eye. Lu Chen wasn't really afraid that she would eat him up. At most, he would just keep it to himself. Hey, I'm going to another nation. Are you sure you want to follow me? Lu Chen said. The woman smiled. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. Oh, don't keep calling me hey. I have a name. I'm Luo Yao. I'm nameless. Luo Yao laughed in her heart. This guy dared to come to the Dongyu kingdom, and he actually knew not to say that he was solipsistic. The two ate some food and went to the village where Shuer was. In the evening of the same day, the two of them arrived at this unknown small village. Qian Qiuxue and Taishu were already waiting for Lu Chen at the village entrance. However, Lu Chen was followed by a woman in blue. Taishu Shuer. Lu Chen saw the two and was in a good mood. He greeted them from afar. Taishu and Shuer couldn't help but look at the woman behind him. However, when they saw the woman's appearance, their eyes were filled with shock. How could it be her? The great emperor of the Eastern Mountain was known to many immortal cultivators who knew of the Jade Emperor. Although no one had seen his lineup, the Jade Emperor had left behind many combat projection stones. They were the most sought-after combat projection stones on the market, and were compulsory for many sections. Taishu and Shuer had been wandering outside for many years, and could be considered knowledgeable. How could they not know about the Jade Emperor? Nameless was actually the empress of the Dongyu nation, Kong Luo Yao. From afar, Luo Yao quietly made a gesture to Taishu and Shuer to keep quiet. Although the two didn't know the reason, they could only follow the Jade Emperor's instructions, and try not to appear too shocked. Lu Chen had already arrived in front of the two. Taishu Shuer, how are you doing here? Not long after, Luo Yao also came over. Nameless brother, these two are your friends? Nameless. Brother. The Jade Emperor actually called Lu Chen nameless brother? This frightened the Grand Elder and Shuer. Lu Chen didn't find anything unusual and said, Yes, they are my few friends in the 5th heaven. Senior Uncle Shuer, this is Miss Luo Yao. I met her in the snow mountain, and we traveled together. Nameless you, how could you bring just anyone? The Grand Elder hesitated. The Jade Emperor's strength was the ceiling of the Eastern Peak Nation. Even in the 5th heaven, she was a top-notch existence. Although Shuer had a close relationship with the Ice God, and he was the guardian of the Ice God's heart, that relationship had disappeared after the previous incident. The two of them were now ordinary people. Most importantly, the Jade Empress didn't want Nameless to know her identity. Could there be some unknown reason behind this? They couldn't help but worry about Lu Chen. After all, Luo Yao was experienced in dealing with people. She could see their concerns at a glance. She smiled warmly and said, Although Nameless brother and I only met by chance, Nameless brother took care of me and helped me get out of the snow mountain. For 2 months, I will keep him safe. This sentence was meant for the granduncle and Shui. She was promising them that within 2 months, not only would she not hurt Lu Chun, but she would also ensure his safety. In exchange, she hoped that they would keep this a secret. Shui suddenly said, "What about 2 months later?" Luo Yao smiled slightly. "We are only companions for a short time. Not immortal companions. How can I protect him for a lifetime? But I can be sure that Luo Yao will never hurt nameless brother." Shui didn't understand the meaning of Luo Yao's words. She wanted to say something, but the Grand Elder understood that Luo Yao wouldn't hurt nameless brother. But when Lu Chun knew that she was the Jade Emperor, then there was no guarantee. It was a guarantee, but also a threat. The Grand Elder's eyelids twitched. Even if it was for nameless brother's safety, it seemed that they could only choose to remain silent. He hurriedly pulled Shui and secretly winked at her, telling her not to pursue the matter. He turned to Lu Chun and smiled. "Come and sit at home." Aside from the Jade Emperor, the Grand Elder and Shui hadn't seen Lu Chun for a long time. They had already prepared the ingredients. Today Shui personally cooked and made a table full of dishes for Lu Chun. During the meal, Lu Chun and the others chatted and laughed, toasting each other. Luo Yao, on the other hand, was ignored. However, she also had her own things to do. She lowered her head and ate. The Grand Elder couldn't stand it anymore. How could the Jade Emperor, the East Mountain Sovereign, eat like this? "That Yao. Miss Yao, eat slowly. There are still dishes." Lu Chun smiled. "Don't worry about her, Grand Elder. She hasn't had a full meal for several days." Luo Yao took the time to look up and said, "You guys just talk about old times. Don't worry about me." This guy didn't regard himself as an outsider at all. During the meal, Lu Chun also said that he was going to the White Lion Nation soon. Although the Grand Elder had traveled extensively in his early years, he only knew a little about the White Lion Nation situation. Nameless, there aren't many people in the White Lion Nation. Most of them are from other races. You also know the strength of the other races. They are much stronger than humans. Lu Chun nodded. "That doesn't matter. Anyway, I can roughly know their strength by looking at their cultivation level. Besides, I'm not going there to fight." "That's not it," the Grand Elder suddenly said. "Let's put it this way. You should know that the strength of spiritual power is definitely the upper limit of the third dimension. However, due to different body structures, the same amount of spiritual power, for example, a human's upper limit of 3 dimensions is 3 times of spiritual power, but a monster's physique is 18 times of spiritual power, while a heavenly devil's strength is 20 times of spiritual power. In some races, the upper limit of 3 dimensions is far beyond that of humans." When Lu Chun heard this, he was surprised that there was such a thing. The human race entered the Jiutian from the first heaven, while some races entered from the second heaven, the third heaven, or even the fourth heaven directly. This is because their war souls inherited part of their physical strength, which is far beyond that of the human race. And at the fifth heaven, this advantage is even more obvious. They are born with an advantage in the battle of the body. Lu Chun frowned slightly. In the previous few heavens, he had already felt the contempt of the other races for the human race. The strength of the other races was indeed stronger. The fifth heaven focused more on the body. The war souls that the human race had painstakingly cultivated could only fight for an hour at most. Therefore, the fifth heaven was actually a serious weakening for the human race. However, the other races might be eager to fight with their body because their body was very strong. The human race can only rely on skills and accumulation to compete with them, the Grand Elder said. Lu Chun nodded. "I understand, Grand Elder. I will be careful when the time comes." "Sai, I know you are not an impulsive person. I am afraid that if you don't cause trouble, they will provoke you. The other races have despised the human race for a long time. The human race in the Dongyua country is not a big deal, but in other countries, you have to be extra low-key." Lu Chun smiled slightly. "Grand Elder, I have always been low-key." This inadvertent sentence made Luo Yao, who was gorging on the side, spit out a mouthful of wine. "Low-key? Are you sure you are low-key?" Granduncle looked at Luo Yao and said seriously. "Miss Luo Yao, I hope you can fulfill your promise." With you around, John Doe's safety should not be a problem. But if anything happens to him on the way, although my strength is weak, I will definitely ask you for an explanation. Luo Yao wiped her mouth and looked at the Grand Elder indifferently. I will naturally keep my promise. For 2 months, I will guarantee his safety. Lu Chen looked at Luo Yao in surprise. This girl was getting more and more mysterious. But her words seemed to be a little too full. She didn't even know what she was going to do. Chapter 825. In the evening, the granduncle arranged for Lu Chen and Luo Yao to stay in the guest house next door. The snow-covered village looked especially peaceful under the starry sky. Lu Chen sat on the dome roof and looked at the igloo that was lit by fire and extinguished one by one. It was snowing quietly. Snowflakes fell quietly from the sky. Tomorrow morning, there would be piles of snow in front of each house. Lu Chen leaned on Rhubarb. Rhubarb, if I ever retire, living here will be a kind of enjoyment. Footsteps came from behind. Lu Chen looked back. It was Shui. Shui sat beside Lu Chen. She had been busy for a long time, and didn't have time to chat with Lu Chen. Nameless brother, the grand uncle and I will leave this place in spring, Shui suddenly said. You're leaving? Lu Chen looked at Shui in surprise. In the snowy night, under the hazy starlight, Shui's side profile was so perfect that it seemed unreal. Shui lowered her head and smiled helplessly. The current me has nothing to do with the ice god, but I'm still a native of the fifth heaven. I've seen too many of the natives' tragic experiences. At that time, I was the vessel of the ice god's heart and couldn't do anything. But now, I can truly live for once. I will become stronger for them. Lu Chen was quite gratified. Perhaps this was his original intention for saving Shui. Live for yourself. Lu Chen smiled. Shui, I believe you will become very strong in the future. Nameless brother, you must be careful when you go to the White Lion Nation. Also that friend of yours. Although I don't know her purpose, you must be careful. She's not an ordinary person. Lu Chen smiled. I've already seen some things from your and the granduncle's reactions during the day. Since you didn't say anything, you must have your reasons. Don't worry. Sometimes, after being separated for so long, there was a lot to say, but when they really met, they didn't know what to say. But for true friends, even if the two of them didn't speak and just looked up at the starry sky, they still wouldn't feel awkward. Unknowingly, perhaps because Shui was tired, she leaned her head on Lu Chen's shoulder. Lu Chen turned his head to look at Shui. Smiled gently, and then continued to look at the stars. Not far away, Luo Yao looked at the two silhouettes under the starry sky in a daze. The closer she got to the prey, the more she realized that this solipsistic was different from what she had imagined. Was he really the person who defeated the 5 experts of the martial imperial manor in 3 seconds? If he hadn't seen the battle with his own eyes, he wouldn't have been able to tell. He could play with the children in the village, and chat with the mortals who were worthless in his eyes about their boring daily lives. The Grand Elder and Shui, one was an earth cultivator, and the other was a grand cultivator. They were at such a low level, but he seemed to be friends with them for many years. Solipsistic, I really can't see through you. The next morning, Lu Chen didn't say goodbye to the Grand Elder and Shui, and set off with Luo Yao. In 2 days, they would cross the border of the Dongyu Nation and enter the Baisher Nation. Luo Shui had changed into another set of clothes today. She was wearing a pink magician's robe, sexy with a hint of playfulness. This woman could really wear any kind of style. Aren't you going to say goodbye to your friends? I already said goodbye to them yesterday. There's no need to say goodbye in person. Lu Chen didn't slow down his pace. What are you going to the Baisher Nation for? To look for something. Lu Chen said ambiguously. Luo Yao also knew that he wouldn't tell her everything, so she didn't ask in detail and changed the topic. Nameless, do you know about the recent prophecies about the 5th heaven? I'm not interested in those things. Lu Chen said directly. Many of the oracle's prophecies will come true. Why don't you believe them? Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. There was once an oracle who said that I would die, and then I killed her. If she was so good at prophecy, Why didn't she guess that she would die? Luo Shui almost vomited blood. This guy was ruthless. He killed an oracle directly? Although the oracles couldn't be fought, every country treated them like treasures. Yet, this guy killed the oracles just because he didn't like what he said. Actually, oracles can't see their own fate, Luo Yao said. Lu Chen thought for a moment. He didn't think of this possibility at first, but then he shook his head. He had seen the Earth 14 years later, and in that Earth he was trapped in the whirlpool world. However, he had now come out of the whirlpool world. If such an ending could be changed, what was the point of prophecy? I have the final say in my fate. No one else can predict my future. Luo Yao frowned slightly. You have quite a personality. Then, do you know about the recent attack on the Dongyu Nation's spirit veins? Speaking of this question, Lu Chen couldn't help but slow down a little. What do you know? Luo Yao shook her head. The culprit acted too quickly. From the attack to the spirit veins being robbed, it took less than 10 minutes. So I speculated that this was definitely not done by humans. Only demonic beasts can do it. They will shatter people and spirit stones, mix them into a liquid and swallow them, and use them to increase their strength. Lu Chen looked at Luo Yao in surprise. Her conclusion was the same as his. However, Luo Yao thought that it was a group of demonic beasts acting together, and Lu Chen knew more about it. He now speculated that this matter was most likely done by demonic beast sovereign alone. Now that all the spirit stone mines in the Dongyu Nation are sealed, I guess those unknown demonic beasts might go to other countries, Luo Yao said. Lu Chen didn't express his opinion on this. In his opinion, it didn't matter which country it went to. Anyway, that guy was growing rapidly in this terrifying way. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to stop its growth in time. He didn't know what kind of terrifying existence he would have to face in the future. By the way, do you know about the 5 ancient spirit veins? Since this woman was not simple, Lu Chen naturally wouldn't let go of the opportunity to inquire about it. That's too old. A great war broke out thousands of years ago. Many ancient books were destroyed in that catastrophe. It's very difficult for people to get information about the ancient spirit veins from ancient books, Luo Yao said. Unless it's an old monster that has lived for thousands of years, who knows? Those spirit veins have already disappeared. Why are you asking about this? Lu Chen smiled. History has always been my favorite subject. The two of them chatted perfunctorily. These 2 days were not boring at all. 2 days later, Lu Chen and Luo Yao finally crossed the border of the Dongyu Nation and entered the Baishur Nation. On the east side of the Baishur Nation were dwarves, beasts, elves, and some other races that had a good relationship with the human race. Along the way, they often saw caravans of these races coming and going between the two nations to sell goods. That's strange. These races shouldn't be weak. Why didn't they seize control of the nation? Lu Chen asked, puzzled. It's a matter of habit. Luo Yao answered casually. The human race has few strong masters, so they prefer to build up their own forces. These races prefer to work together in small groups. In fact, this is also the reason why the human race has allied with these races. If they encounter a stronger and more united race, the human race won't be able to hold their own for long. Oh, by the way, when I said united, of course, I'm talking about the surface. You know, people like to do things behind the scenes. Luo Yao seemed to have a lot to say about this. We've arrived at the Baishur Nation. The border is still okay. If you go deeper, you'd better keep a low profile. Luo Shui reminded him again. Especially if you encounter the Night Stalker tribe. They have a tradition of hunting humans. Chapter 826. The nocturnal ghosts were a very special race. They were born with spiritual bodies. It was said that the growth of their spiritual power was terrifying. And spiritual power was the most important attribute of the body. Having an advantage in this aspect meant that the nocturnal ghosts had the most unique advantage in cultivation. Because they didn't have a physical body, they would hunt other races and occupy their bodies. Because of this, the nocturnal ghosts couldn't be identified during the day. In theory, any race you met could be a nocturnal ghost. Then why do they like to hunt humans? Lu Chen asked, puzzled. Humans are considered the weakest race, but the heavens seem to feel that this is too unfair to a race. So in the aesthetics of all races, humans are strangely considered to be the most perfect. Luo Yao seemed to be talking about something funny. The nocturnal ghosts are lustful. With a good appearance, it's easy to seduce those lecherous dwarves. What was the use of being good-looking if they were weak? The human race had one of the most useless advantages. Moreover, in the eyes of other races, humans are trash unless they are top-notch experts. This makes it easier for the nocturnal ghosts to hide. Lu Chun frowned slightly. Then how do you distinguish them? It's hard to tell. If you have to talk about a technique, then if you meet someone of the opposite sex, no matter what race they are, and they keep trying to seduce you, you can consider whether or not they are a nocturnal ghost. Lu Chun frowned. Doesn't that mean I can't have any romantic encounters in the Baisher nation? Romantic encounters? Luo Yao rolled her eyes at Lu Chun. You still want to have romantic encounters? You blockhead, even if one is placed in front of you, you won't be able to grasp it. Let's go. Aren't you going to the Magic Eye Grand Canyon? It'll take another 2 days. Passing by a few small towns, Lu Chun rushed into a shop and asked about the situation of the cash withdrawal tickets. Human kid, other than the Spirit Vein Mine, the cash withdrawal tickets have long been out of stock. Everyone keeps them in their pockets. Where else can you find them? The dwarf boss said. Lu Chun was extremely depressed. Right now, only the Eastern Peak Nation's Spirit Vein Mine had been attacked. However, all the other nations had been wary of danger and had restricted the business of cashing in. The various powers were also like this and had tightly sealed their pockets. Forget it. It seems that it will be difficult to get the cash withdrawal coupons in the short term. Boss, do you have a map of the Magic Eye Canyon? Magic Eye Canyon? Where are you going? That place hasn't been peaceful recently. Lu Chun immediately became alert. What's going on there? The shop owner still took out an electronic map, 20 spirit stones. The Magic Eye Canyon has always been inhabited by powerful magical beasts. This isn't a rare occurrence. After all, the Magic Eye Canyon stretches for thousands of kilometers. Moreover, it has always been active in the center of the canyon. It's not easy to encounter it. However, that fellow seems to have been particularly active recently. Judging from the attacks on the caravans in the past 2 months, its range of activity actually spans the entire Magic Eye Canyon. It seems to have become a little restless. Last time, someone said that it seems to have evolved into the 9th transformation stage. That's not the main point. The main point is that someone said that there's an even more terrifying fellow in the canyon. A few days ago, in broad daylight, the canyon covered the sky and an incomparably huge shadow passed by. No one knows what it is, or whether it's in the canyon. In short, if you want to go to the canyon, it's best if you buy this. With that, the shop owner took out a crystal bead. What is this? Night pearl. It can illuminate at night. It's said that the 9th transformation fellow doesn't like light. Perhaps it can save your life. 180 spirit stones, the lowest price in town. Including the map, it's 20 spirit stones in total. Deal. Lu Chun almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The total price was 200 spirit stones, but he had cut it down to 20 spirit stones. The shop owner actually agreed so quickly. It seemed that he had been cheated again. Before leaving, the shop owner didn't forget to remind him. You have to keep an eye on your woman. Your woman is so beautiful. There must be many people who have their eyes on her, especially the Night Stalker tribe. Lu Chun glanced at Luo Yao, who was looking around. This fellow actually didn't explain anything. After leaving the shop, the two of them headed straight for the canyon. At the entrance of the canyon, a large number of people gathered. There were trade caravans, White Lion Nation's army, travelers, and tens of thousands of people from various races. They had even formed a temporary camp. Lu Chun was rather surprised. He didn't see so many people in the small towns he passed by before. Why were there so many people gathered here? 500 people from Tiger King City. Minimum 5-star earth cultivation level. Let's go once everyone is here. There are still 4 days of full moon. Hurry up. 200 people from the regular White Lion Army. Head toward Prairie Fire City. Find the regular White Lion army and travel together. Head to Prairie Fire City in 3 days. Speed up if you want to go together. Are there any solo experts? Trade caravans will hire experts at a high price to escort us. 3-star earth cultivation level and above. There are also 200 spots available. Pay with spirit stones. See for yourself the remuneration. This was different from the commission missions in South Town City. Many people were actually just forming teams to travel. There was no remuneration for this. Only trade caravans would spend money to hire bodyguards. Moreover, Lu Chen noticed that the requirements for these helpers were very high. Those who were earth cultivation level and above would need at least 500 people in a team. Large teams could even have up to 1,000 people. He checked the map that he had just bought. Their destination wasn't too far away. It would only take 2 or 3 days to travel. There was almost no further. Lu Chen speculated that these people wouldn't just go to the few nearby cities. It was possible that they were advancing in segments. They would first go to the next place with more people, and then continue their journey. However, there was one thing that Lu Chen didn't understand. They seemed to want to reach their destination on the night of the full moon. They seemed to be in a hurry. What's wrong with the night of the full moon? Lu Chen asked Luo Yao curiously. On the night of the full moon in Magic Eye Valley, the magic eye opens, and the demon appears. Luo Yao said, "You don't even know this, and you still dare to come to Magic Eye Valley? Is it the magical beast that the dwarf boss mentioned before?" No, Luo Yao knew this like the back of her hand. The boss should be talking about one of the 7 magical beast generals living in the valley, the 8-eyed demon. If what the boss said is true, then it has evolved to the 9th refinement stage and opened its last eye, which is the 9-eyed demon. That thing is not to be trifled with. As for the demon appearing, I don't know what it is exactly. However, I've heard of a legend. There was once an army of 500,000 from the White Lion Kingdom, relying on their strength, marched through the Demon Eye Valley on a full moon night. However, the next day, they found piles of bones in the Demon Eye Valley. There was no lack of high-star emperor cultivation among the 500,000 soldiers. None of them were spared. Lu Chen couldn't help but frown. The night of the full moon in Magic Eye Valley was a little scary. However, Lu Chen's goal was to thoroughly explore Magic Eye Valley. If he didn't see the Magic Eye Valley on the night of the full moon, it wouldn't be a thorough exploration. He might even miss out on some important information. Suddenly, Lu Chen looked at Luo Yao meaningfully. Cough cough, didn't you say that you would protect me for 2 months? The Jade Emperor's heart suddenly tightened. Why did she feel like she had fallen into a trap? Chapter 827. Hey, beautiful lady. A male elemental elf ran towards Luo Yao from a short distance away. Luo Yao turned around and frowned slightly. She said coldly, "Get lost." Lu Chen suddenly realized that Luo Yao's attitude towards him was already quite good. As for others, she did not even give them a chance to speak. They greeted her politely, but she directly said, "Get lost." How bad was her temper? Looking at the elf's badge carefully, he was also an earth cultivation expert. That male elemental elf did not get angry. Instead, he apologized. "I'm really sorry, senior. Please forgive my rudeness." Lu Chen's eyes almost popped out. Was this the difference between people? Why was he so polite when Luo Yao scolded him and directly changed to calling her senior? And the people he met were all blind people. "Senior, may I ask if you are a 5-star emperor?" "Oh, I'm talking about the Yellow Emperor's emperor. After all, only 5-star emperor and above can use spirit energy to cover their badge." Luo Yao was the Jade Empress. Naturally, not just anyone could strike up a conversation with her. However, this person was still polite. Now that she was beside the solipsistic, Luo Yao finally restrained herself a little. "My cultivation level has nothing to do with you." "Senior, may I know where you are heading?" Seeing that Luo Yao did not speak, this person continued, "We are heading towards the Peacock City. The journey is a little far. It will take us at least 3 days. Therefore, we have not found enough companions. However, we have to reach the Peacock City on the night of the full moon. Time is too tight. If Senior is heading in the same direction, why don't you travel with us? We have more than 10 Emperor experts in our group, and another 5-star Emperor expert. Although there are not many of us, we are not weak. Luo Yao was not in the mood to listen to him. She impatiently pointed at Lu Chen. Ask him. That person turned and saw Lu Chen. He then looked at Lu Chen's badge. 7-star Wild Cultivator. There were also mortals, cultivators, and cultivators in the Baishur Nation. However, those who dared to enter the Demon Eye Valley were at least in the earth cultivation realm. Seeing a cultivator here, the man almost thought that he was seeing things. Lu Chen had a helpless look on his face as he took the initiative to report his rank. Big brother, you're almost sticking to me. You didn't see wrong. I'm a 7-star wild practitioner. Lu Chen also wanted to raise his immortal cultivation level, but unfortunately, the spirit extraction scroll was hard to come by recently. As an unaffiliated cultivator, it was even harder for him to get his hands on one, so he could only stop at this level. That person raised his head, his face full of shock. Not only was he a cultivator, he was also a wild one. What a double surprise. It was really strange that a super strong 5-star monarch cultivator would listen to a 7-star cultivator. However, since the woman asked him, the male elf followed her instructions and asked, "This? Little brother, it's okay. Actually, it's better to marry a good girl than to have a high rank. I can only say that you're really lucky to have found such a beautiful woman. It's really perfect. Little brother, if you're going the same way, why don't you come with us? The place we're going to is quite far away. You won't lose out if you come with us. Hey, how about this? If you're willing to come with us, we can give you 10,000 spirit extraction scrolls." That person whispered into Lu Chen's ear. "We can't afford to give you more than that. The spirit extraction scrolls are really tight now." The 1,000 spirit extraction scrolls were naturally given on account of Luo Yao. Lu Chen didn't care if they followed or not. However, their group was going deeper into the Demon Eye Valley, so it was fine for them to go together. Moreover, they were actually offering spirit extraction scrolls. Luo Yao's group was worth 10,000 spirit extraction scrolls? Isn't this money coming too easily? Luo Yao shouldn't be lacking in spirit extraction scrolls. She wouldn't even know that he had secretly taken them. When are you guys leaving? We only have around 200 people, but we can't wait any longer. Regardless of whether everyone is here or not, we'll be leaving soon. Alright, then give us the spirit extraction scrolls first. We'll go with you. The two of them secretly completed the transaction. Lu Chen held on to the 10,000 spirit extraction scrolls and almost cried. It had been a long time since he had received a spirit extraction scrolls. If he still couldn't find a way to earn money, he would really have to resort to robbery. At this moment, Luo Yao walked over and looked coldly at the spirit extraction scrolls in Lu Chen's hands. You sold me for 10,000 spirit extraction scrolls? It turned out that this fellow had seen everything. Just take it as a reward for your hard work of cooking every day. Lu Chen kept the spirit extraction scrolls and boasted shamelessly. Luo Yao didn't pursue the matter. 10,000 spirit extraction scrolls were nothing to her. Hey, did you observe that group? No. You didn't even observe them and you agreed to their request. I really don't know if I should say that you're naive or stupid. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Is there a problem with them? They're Nightwalker clan. Lu Chen looked strangely at the back of the elemental young man. At this time, he was busy notifying the members of the group. How did you know? Luo Yao's expression was a little unnatural, but she still said, You men may not be able to feel it, but I can feel it. The way he looked at me just now was not right. He has been secretly staring at my legs and, anyway, his eyes are not honest. What's wrong with that? Who asked you to be so beautiful? Even if you're not a Nightwalker, you can't help but take a few more glances. According to what you said, I'm also a Nightwalker? Lu Chen was telling the truth, but Luo Yao was stunned. You're also secretly staring at me. Lu Chen suddenly realized that he had spilled the beans and hurriedly said, I told you not to be so sensitive. Let's go, they've already gathered over there. Luo Yao shook her head slightly. Previously, she had a new level of respect for solipsistic, but from this small matter, it seemed that solipsistic was always careless. Can such a person be that 1 in 10,000? 1 in 10,000 could not reverse the situation. 1 in 10,000. Did it mean that 1 in 10,000 could reverse the situation? Or that no one could reverse the situation? Luo Yao could not help but frown deeply. The elves group had already set off. The group was mostly made up of elves, dwarves, humans, goblins, and half-beasts. There were both men and women, about 200 people. The Magic Eye Grand Canyon was surrounded by strange and huge plants. A single leaf was even bigger than several people. There was no ready-made road in the canyon. Only many narrow paths left behind by people who had passed through for a long time. At first, there were many groups around, and Lu Chen's group was relatively relaxed. However, as they walked, the road began to widen and gradually, there was a fork in the road, and the groups were divided. The cliffs on both sides became higher and higher, and the road began to become rugged. A stream flowed down from the cliff on the left, forming a thin waterfall. The surrounding plants became denser, and someone in the front row had already taken out a weapon to cut down the plants blocking the way. Lu Chen had already summoned Rhubarb and Furball, and they followed at the back of the group. Rhubarb, be careful. Rhubarb nodded and followed closely beside Lu Chen. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. The second spirit vein must be found. Chapter 828. Everything was normal in the canyon until night. They didn't even encounter a single magical beast. After all, this place was close to the entrance. There were many people entering the canyon, so magical beasts rarely appeared. At night, the group camped in an open field. Those who knew each other would form a circle. Lu Chen also set up a campfire and prepared dinner with Luo Yao. Little brother, you haven't eaten yet? The elf man from before walked over enthusiastically. You two don't have to cook. Come and eat with us. We have many specialties here. Let's try them together. Luo Yao narrowed her eyes slightly. Her eyes were already filled with killing intent, but Lu Chen didn't notice it and happily agreed. Sure, I haven't eaten elf food before. You want to try everything you haven't eaten before? Luo Yao said coldly. Lu Chen smiled. I don't cook anyway. You can cook for yourself. With that, he left with the elf man. Luo Yao snorted. She already said that there was something wrong with this group of people, but this guy still went to eat other people's food? How did this guy survive until now? She said that she would protect him for 2 months. Was she really going to throw him to the night walkers? Luo Yao let out a sigh and followed him. There were about 10 people with the elf man. 4 of them were Emperor Realm experts. They were about 3 or 4 stars. When Luo Yao came over, a strange look flashed in the eyes of the few men. One of them even stared at her chest for a few seconds. The elf race was a polite race. They were also arrogant by nature. Even if they met someone they liked, they rarely showed such eagerness. Luo Yao had been through hundreds of battles. She was more familiar with the Nightwalkers than the shop owner. The closer it was to night, the easier it was for the Nightwalkers' nature to be exposed. Looking at their behavior now, Luo Yao was even more certain that these people were Nightwalkers. Lu Chen had 2 elf women by his side. They held hands and taught Lu Chen how to cook. They were chatting and laughing intimately. Senior, you're here too. Come and sit. The elf man went up to greet her enthusiastically. Even though he was very controlled, his gaze couldn't help but linger on Luo Yao's chest for a few seconds. As expected, this guy was even more outrageous than during the day. His true nature was being revealed more and more. During the banquet, Solipsistic Brat only cared about chatting and laughing with the 2 elf beauties. Luo Yao felt a wave of disgust wash over her. Just a moment ago, he and Snow had treated each other with respect from the back, but now he had turned around and hugged her in his arms. Men really aren't good things. Luo Yao coldly snorted and took out her own wine to drink. Senior, it's boring to drink alone. Since we haven't entered the canyon yet, it's fine to drink a little more today. Someone immediately came over to propose a toast. That's right. Senior, I've never seen an immortal like you before. You're simply like a fairy that has descended to the mortal world. Not only that, you're also so powerful. May I ask exactly how many stars of the Martial Emperor realm Senior is? A 4-star Martial Emperor also came over. Senior, are you and that little brother really an immortal couple? Little brother is really lucky to have married such a celestial being like you. Isn't that so? Senior, how do you take care of yourself? Your skin is still so tender. Senior, please don't misunderstand. My wife often complains that her skin is poor. I'm sincerely asking for your guidance. Luo Yao drank a few mouthfuls of wine and felt annoyed when she looked at Lu Chen. She said unhappily, "He wants to marry me? In his dreams." The people around Luo Yao looked at each other with a slightly smug look in their eyes. Wine cups clinked, and Luo Yao didn't know how much she had drunk. Senior, you're really good at drinking. However, are you really not planning to taste our mistakes? Drinking wine is a little bad for your stomach. Forget it, forget it. What's so good about food? Senior and I hit it off at first sight. Come, let's drink. In the surrounding campsites, the people had already fallen asleep, and the voices here gradually weakened. The night returned to peace. In the middle of the night, the sleeping elf suddenly opened her eyes. He observed the 2 humans in the campsite. The 2 of them were sleeping so deeply that they were almost unconscious. Only then did he sit up and lightly pat his companion beside him. That person also instantly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he impatiently reached out to touch Luo Yao's chest. Wait. Although these 2 people are dead drunk, they didn't eat our food. This woman is not weak. If she wakes up later, there might be trouble. Pull these 2 people a little farther away and give them some medicine. I guarantee that they will be obedient tomorrow. Several elves woke up one after another. A group of people lifted Lu Chen and Luo Yao out of the camp with their spirit chi. Hee, such a beautiful girl. I can't help it. A 4-star Emperor elf rubbed his hands, his eyes full of greed. Quick, hallucination mushroom. No matter how strong you are, you still have needs. In front of the hallucination mushroom. Even if your strength is monstrous, I will make you submit to me. Immediately, a subordinate brought over 2 purple mushrooms. Luo Yao was surrounded by more than a dozen elves, while Lu Chen was surrounded by 3 female elves. They also had hallucination mushrooms in their hands. It seemed that they couldn't do anything without this magical plant. Hee, little handsome, you 2 are really lucky today. There are so many of us here to play with you. You really have good luck with women. In a while, absorb half of his spirit chi. Otherwise, it will be troublesome if others find out. Okay, Sister Su, you try it first. Sister Su placed the hallucination mushroom in front of Lu Chen and activated her spirit chi, preparing to trigger the hallucination mushroom to release its medicinal effect. Suddenly, a cold sword directly pierced through her throat. Everything happened too quickly. So much so that Sister Su didn't even have time to react. She could only widen her eyes and look in the direction of the sword. She saw that the sleeping human had already opened his eyes. Lu Chen shook his head regretfully. If you have any needs, you can just ask me face to face. Why do you have to use such methods? Previously, everyone got along very well. Sigh, I also don't want to kill you. Sister Su's eyes were filled with pain. Her mouth opened and closed, and large mouthfuls of blood gushed out. You. What about me? You really think I can't see through your tricks? Sister Su's life was quickly draining away. When her body collapsed, black smoke came out from her mouth. Lu Chen coldly snorted. That was probably the main body of the Nightwalker race. Want to run? Divine Demon Symbiosis. I'm all ears. A powerful suction force came, and that black smoke was forcefully pulled back by Lu Chen. A pitch-black cannon muzzle was placed in front of the black smoke. Lu Chen's eyes flashed a trace of coldness. Spiritual space cannon. With a loud bang, Lu Chen didn't hesitate. Without waiting for her to enter soul-body unification, he killed her with a single shot. At the same time, there was a loud shout from Luo Yao's side. Instantly, sword light flashed everywhere. Lu Chen only glanced in that direction and smiled. Although Luo Yao's alcohol tolerance wasn't good, she still had some intelligence. It was impossible for her to get drunk at this time, so there was no need for him to worry. The other two female elves looked at Lu Chen in horror. Since you already knew that we are from the Nightwalker race, why did you still come to meet us? Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. He drew a sword in his hand and closed in on the two girls. Sigh, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for showing off your wealth in front of me. In order to fish, you casually took out 10,000 yuan cash coupons. TSK, you're quite rich. It just so happens that I'm short of money recently, and you two are people who deserve to die. Tell me, with such a warm invitation, do you think I have a reason to reject it? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.